Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 93rd episode of the IGC Video Game Podcast, where we talk about video games. I mean, we talk about other stuff, but primarily we talk about video games. With us today is, I'm your host, Gray Drilden, and AI Monster is here, as usual. Hello. And Core Contingency is returning for the podcast tonight.
Good evening.
And Chocobro is now in his new stable. He has returned to us.
Work. I'm on a West Coast stable this time.
This is very, very cool. So you moved from like a Buffalo area over to where now?
Well, I didn't move, but I'm on a very extended, month-long trip to Seattle.
Ah, the rainy state or city.
Yes. So it's currently just balmy and uncomfortable.
Ah, that's okay. But that
you
happens.
need good solid 4-ton air conditioner like we have here in the Central Valley of California.
Yeah, I found out that apparently no one here has AC. If you want AC, you have to go into a store.
Oh boy.
Well, yeah, when you live in an area where we check the weather report and we're like, oh good, it's only going to be 100 degrees today, then...
Glad to have all you guys back. Good times. So did you guys get a chance to watch the E3, conferences?
I caught most of the recaps of the conferences. I just did not have the time to sit down and catch all the full conferences.
Yeah, I caught some of them live, and then I watched some recaps. Definitely regret the time spent.
You regret the time spent. Yeah.
I guess if you watch the Microsoft
agrees
conference,
with you on that one, right?
Do.
I watched most of them, and I caught recaps for Ubisoft and Sony. Well, actually, no. Just Ubisoft, actually. I watched all the other ones.
Saw all of them in their entirety, including the PC Gamer Conference.
I skipped that this year. Gotta be honest with you, the PC Gamer Conference never really seems to get better. So I just am like, you know what? I all these other guys already cover all the games coming out, so I think we're good. Not gonna bother with any of it. Well, that's what we're going to be talking about. So in the last episode, we kind of went through the EA and Microsoft conferences because they had happened the day of and the evening before as well. So we were watching the Microsoft conference right up until the time the podcast started. So we kind of went through all that. But as a quick recap, EA showed Battlefront 2, A Way Out, Anthem, Need for Speed Payback, and a lot of their sports shit. Was there anything here that kind of grabbed you guys in any way?
I think the key game here is A Way Out.
Way Out.
I agree too. I also think that you could hardly say they showed Anthem. It was supposed to be 14 seconds of environmental pans or something.
Right, yeah. We saw a whole heck of a lot more of it in, what was it? Microsoft's conference, yeah. And I said it last time, but I'll say it again. This game looks like it was... Mass Effect Andromeda was the tech demo for this game. Because, Frostbite engine, they really haven't done a whole lot. There's, jump jets. The shooting looks mostly the same that MEA did. Just kind of I don't know, man. I feel like Mass Effect Andromeda is such a bad product that I just, I have mixed feelings. I don't think I'm going to like Anthem. I'm definitely not going to play it. It's it was a Destiny-style game. They're doing, an online multiplayer thing.
I think so. I don't know exactly what they're doing with it. I heard free-to-play.
It's gonna suck. They got the marketing guys involved. They're considering it like a managed service. Not when you're calling it a managed service and not a game, there's an instant problem.
Something didn't sit right about that. But you mentioned The Way Out, and I didn't like it that much when I watched it in the conference, and we discussed it a bit last time. But having seen a little bit more of it now, I kind of see the potential for this game. I think it could be solid. It has a good story.
So, there's pedigree here. The developers were the folks behind, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, which was a twin stick kind of isometric cooperative game. Now they're taking it kind of first person and definitely kicking up the production value and really trying to involve you with your other player. It's split screen co-op. But you'll be able to play over a network, and I guess it'll still be a split screen. You'll be able to see what your network player is seeing also, just in a smaller kind of frame. And I don't know, from what I watched of the gameplay trailers, it looks pretty engaging. Like a lot of like the puzzles are well thought out, have multiple approaches to them, and depending on how you and your partner want to try to adapt to the situation. And I don't know, I think it could be a lot of fun with the right person.
I agree.
I thought Battlefront 2 looked good too, but so did Battlefront 1, and I said that earlier. Yeah,
So here are my thoughts on it. It does look good, and that's par for the course of any AAA shooter these days.
Also, bull
what I'm
shots.
mostly curious about, there are a lot of bull shots. What I'm mostly curious about though is how EA is going to approach Battlefront 2 as far as the single player story goes, because they said they made a huge mistake with the original Battlefront, not including a single player campaign. They're fixing that problem around Battlefront 2, so we may actually get a decent Star Wars game out of this for the single players. And let's face it, the multiplayer was lacking. So a solid single-player campaign and with some touched-up multiplayer could help a lot.
Absolutely, yeah, and they really emphasize that they're bringing that this time around. They heard people and they're trying to people please this time around. So yeah, if that single-player campaign's good, people could just pick it up for that.
The original Battlefront had classic movie game syndrome where they were rushed. They had to get it out in time for the movie, right, and it suffered greatly for it.
Yeah, and they seem to be taking their time with it, although it's going to line up with another movie, right? It seems. This is coming out holiday this year, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, expect it to be another rushed EA product.
Yeah.
It will be filled with lots of bugs, and I mean, it'll look pretty, but it won't really be a competent shooter.
We'll see how they handle the hero spawning and stuff this time around, too. That was another random point of contention that I heard quite a bit about in the first Battlefront. The second first Battlefront. This is the second Battlefront, because we're playing that game. All right, the Microsoft conference. We saw a pretty extended view of Sea of Thieves. After they showed us their new Xbox One X, which, all told, seems like a pretty powerful unit for the price tag. Although I think within its own market, it doesn't have the appeal, unfortunately, in terms of bucks you're spending on stuff.
Can we talk about the Xbox One X? Because I think that's the big news here.
I mean,
before we go into any games.
Yeah, it really is.
What do you want to talk about it?
We're going to talk about hardware?
Yeah,
it has more flops than the European Football League?
It's got a lot of flops.
Yeah, and the joke is a giant flop.
Let's face it, they are spouting out this number like it has any significance to most people that the GPU is capable of 6 teraflops. That's floating point operations per second, basically. And to put that into perspective, and for PC gamers out there, a NVIDIA GTX 1070 has 6.5. So this GPU is roughly equivalent to a GTX 1070, albeit the memory is far larger.
But it's got a vapor chamber, man.
Oh yeah. So they learned that shit gets hot, you have to cool it. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, technically speaking, this is basically not even equivalent. It basically is a RX 580 chip from AMD in terms of performance.
So, I mean, they were talking about true 4K. They spouted true 4K a lot. They said that a lot to differentiate themselves from, I guess, the checkerboarding upscaling on the PS4 Pro.
Yeah,
but
I don't see
coming with a price tag, right?
And
at the level of performance of that GPU, what they claim is not possible for the general case. Well, you can see quote unquote true 4K games at that resolution, at that GPU power, but they will have to make significant compromises to achieve it.
And we've already seen games like the Crackdown Free developer admitted the game was not running at true 4K. It's doing the same thing PS4 is doing with the checkerboard rendering.
Interesting.
Which to be fair, I think this is actually a media failure. There's really nothing wrong with checkerboard rendering. It's a very viable technique.
And especially going, from 1080p to 4K, it scales very well. It's the same aspect ratio.
Really 4 times the resolution, right?
It looks exactly like 4K. You probably can't tell the difference.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very tiny visual quality loss.
But yeah,
over quote unquote true 4K.
Just seeing the performance of their hardware that they're getting out versus what we know exists today and the capabilities of like I said, go find a GTX 1070 that's running a 4K system at full detail at anywhere near above 30 frames per
It's
second.
very hard.
Yeah.
Outside of like StarCraft,
Now,
it's tough.
Consoles enjoy a unified hardware structure, and they can optimize heavily and utilize certain technologies. But I don't know. I'm going to see how this one plays out. But call me a skeptic at this point.
Well, I mean, they showed off Forza 7 and it looked really good.
Oh, because we've never seen that shit running on a PC, running freaking Slide, whatever the Titan X is.
I mean, the games look great, but you were talking about. Let's talk about the price. I mean, it's $500.
Yeah.
And that's $100 more than the PS4 Pro, and that's all that matters, really. It doesn't matter how much more powerful the system is than the PS4 Pro. People are going to see that for the higher end system, they're going to see the price tags, and they're going to see the $400 on the PS4 Pro and the $500 on the Xbox One, and they're going to buy the PS4 Pro. If people really care about running the top-line graphics, they'll buy a PC.
Right, and so here's my stance on this one. So you're going to buy this $500 piece of hardware. Great, it's going to run games awesomely. And we know that in-house, Microsoft developed games and published are going to run at true 4K. But that list of exclusives is short and not very appealing.
There are short. That's true.
There are almost no exclusives, and all the games coming out, every game we saw at the conference, also on PC.
Yep. What would we see? Sea of Thieves, Crackdown 3, and Forza 7. Those are the exclusives.
Yeah, I mean, I think a
Those
lot
aren't
of
exclusives though.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Forza is going to be on Windows as well. Crackdown is going to be on at least PS4, right? I mean, the last night got a lot of.
No, I don't think Crackdown's on PS4.
I think
but everything's on PC.
Exclusive.
Right, so
Everything's on PC too.
Well, yeah, that's a
Play Anywhere
Microsoft
titles.
exclusive because they're going after that unified structure basically, where we're joining Windows and Xbox, and that's I'm okay with that.
I mean, this begs the question: what's the point of the Xbox?
Because, like we mentioned before, if you want to get into gaming PC territory, you're looking at least $1,000 just for the PC itself, not including displays and accessories.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about performance per dollar, I guess compared to PC gaming, it's a good buy. I think we've heard both Sony and Microsoft talk about how they consider the PC the competitive platform to them, and Microsoft's sort of showing that that's their belief that they're carrying here with releasing a console like this at the price point it's at, because you can't, I'm not sure you could build a PC as powerful for that amount of money. You could get kind of close, maybe like $700. Not 500. It'd be tough.
I actually priced it out a little bit, and the cheapest I could do was about $620, and that's ignoring that it's not an apples to apples comparison because of the Xbox One X's RAM architecture, which is really its actual killer feature, even over the GPU. But too bad it won't have the exclusives to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean it's tough to build a PC that price. I mean, even with AMD doing what they're doing with prices, it's still tough. But I think most people are going to look at it like they're walking to a GameStop and they see both on a shelf and they're thinking, which one do I want? And yeah, I think it comes down to exclusive, like Horace saying, and it's a tough sell when you're not bringing
at this point.
games.
No, it really is a tough sell. I mean, I've mentioned before how I finally got around to getting an Xbox One S, not because I have anything against Xbox. I've owned all the generations, but there just wasn't anything to entice, and there still isn't. I still haven't bought a single game for it.
Yeah, Microsoft. I don't know what they're doing. They're selling Xbox One X's.
Yep.
Not even going to talk about that name either.
The name is silly.
They've very much adopted the "if you build it, they will come" strategy. We're gonna see. I don't think it's gonna happen.
Do you guys think they're even going to be present in the next generation hardware? Because I don't think they stand a chance.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a hard question to answer.
Yeah, it's going to come down to their board of directors at this point, making a very high-level decision on that.
Yeah, I mean, they see how this runs, and maybe they sell off the Xbox brand to the highest bidder, and it goes solo, and it gets separated from Microsoft. I don't know who has the money to fund it, but, we'll see. Maybe Amazon will scoop them up. I mean, they've been screwing around in the video game space for a little while, so time will tell, I guess. I mean, yeah, it's a tough question. I mean, I wonder if Microsoft will be around for the next generation. I wonder if we will actually see what we consider a classic new generation, because now we're getting these half-generation consoles, and they're coming out staggered release. The Switch released in spring. You know, PlayStation released their stuff last holiday. We're getting Xbox this holiday. I know it's all like in the same sort of space, like within a year, but it just seems a little off. You know, it doesn't seem like a true generation.
Well, a little off topic, but PS5 was announced as in development.
I mean, I think that's absolutely on topic here, and no rumor attached to that about when, right?
No, they said very long ways off, but
yeah, but at this point, if they stick to the same architecture, then PS5 is nothing but a name.
That's true. Who knows? Who knows what it will really be, right? At the end of the day.
I mean, I don't think it'll be a big upgrade in terms of like from the PS4 to the PS4 Pro to the PS5. It'll probably just be minor. It'll be like a half generational leap again.
And while
which
we're
is
talking,
almost insignificant.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what it's going to be? And you know, in related Xbox news stuff, shortly after the conference, well, even during the conference, they talked about Xbox Game Pass and what that was going to be, and apparently it's kind of like a Netflix-style subscription-based thing where you get access to 5 new games every month that you can play, and this didn't really seem to get a lot of buzz. I don't think anyone really cared about it.
I mean, we talked about it before, the advantages and disadvantages of it. But yeah, 5 games a month is not competing with PS Now. I think PS Now usually releases about 10 to 15 a month by comparison. So they're losing out there too.
Yeah, it seems a little weak, but hey, they got Danny McBride to do the ad, right? So
and it is cheaper.
At least it was
much
funny.
Cheaper.
Yeah, it definitely has a different value proposition, but I think most of the people who want that, the value proposition of downloading the games is actually a negative.
Yeah, I can understand where you're coming from on that one.
Is this like a supplementary to your actual Xbox subscription?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's their what do you say, PS Now? It's like their PS Now alternative. Like, here's your games on demand, Netflix kind of thing, where they're going to add 5 new games every month. So, and over time, that library is going to grow, and you know it'll increase in its value supposedly. But again, it may not be stuff you care about or want, and yeah, I mean, again, you're in the Xbox ecosystem, so if you're not already invested or in PlayStation type stuff, then I guess maybe you look at this like, oh, I'll try it, why not? I'm sure it will be available on PC at some point, right? It only seems to make sense. All right, so let's move on to the Bethesda conference.
Wait a minute. We didn't even talk about any games.
Okay, well, which games do you want to talk about? Because we talked about them last time already. We saw a whole shitload of stuff on Sea of Thieves.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, we did.
Which was like a 10-minute long video. I still have no idea what this game is actually about.
I don't think anyone was particularly impressed by that. I was hoping for a better showing from her, and it looked pretty awful.
It's like, is it an instance-based game where I go on pirate adventures, or is it true multiplayer? Is it a persistent world? It just seemed a little, I don't know.
They're calling it an MMO, but it means nothing nowadays.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of information they released this year compared to what they showed last year is insignificant. It's not an improvement.
I'll tell you, the gameplay looked boring.
It did, and visually, I didn't find it nearly as striking as Ubisoft's offerings on that same kind of line.
Yeah, I mean, the game I thought that got the biggest buzz, at least around here, and what I heard was Last Night, which is like a cyberpunky type, I guess, action shootery game. There was some extended gameplay. I'm putting up the original trailer that we saw during the conference. There was a little bit more on this one, but it looked pretty cool. I mean, definitely a different kind of art style, something we haven't seen in maybe a little while, and with a good sort of a noir backdrop. So maybe this game will do well. Wonder if it'll be a full price $60 game.
I doubt it. I think that's going to be indie priced.
It looks like.
It is an indie. It's an indie game. Period. It's just Microsoft having us snag that as an exclusive for a system.
Yeah, looks pretty good.
And Metro looked awesome too.
Metro looked like Metro, with a little twist there on the end, where they're taking off the gas mask. I wasn't super into Metro, but hey, it was an all right game. The first one was all right. I didn't play the second one. Any other games from the Xbox conference we want to highlight here before we move on to the more strange stuff?
Did you see that Porsche?
I saw the Porsche on stage. Did you guys see the Porsche on stage?
I did not. That was not in the highlight reel.
Well, you missed it then because there was a Porsche.
Yes.
Yeah, an exclusive Porsche or whatever that'll be in Forza and.
You want a
There's
car
some like 100
back
of them or
end,
something
it's
like that.
constantly wanting to drive around the front end, then there you go.
This is just like the old shit that they do at E3 to like try to create wow factor for things. Like we're gonna get an esports announcer to do a voiceover here. We're gonna put a car on stage. We're gonna bring out Pele. You know, just stupid shit that like no one really cares that much about.
Are you talking about the EA conference?
I'm talking about both at this point. Like, I think Sony has gotten away from a lot of this stuff, but EA and Microsoft are still trying to wow you with stuff on the stage
and Ubisoft and
Ubisoft. Like, I think Microsoft's conference, sort of for my wrap up on it, is they did a very standardized conference, and they followed kind of what Sony's formula has been, which is like, let's show you a shitload of games, talk a little, shitload of games, talk a little, shitload of games, close it out. I think that that's better than what they've done in the past, where they've talked too much about stuff, and people are kind of like, ugh, okay, whatever, let's show me games. You need to show me games. And the fact that they really only showed these like 6 or 7 games that really mattered kind of sucked. So we ready to talk about Bethesda a little bit?
Sure.
So Bethesda had a pretty interesting conference. They did a very like Fallout-esque kind of Nuka World roadmap thing with Pete Hines on the stage. And the first game we saw really that mattered was Evil Within 2.
Wait, you thought that was an interesting conference? I thought that was boring.
I think the concept was cute.
Maybe, but it was very poorly done.
Yes, and the theme itself didn't fit any games other than Fallout.
First off, whoever they hired for that narration was, oh my god, can we have somebody less enthusiastic?
It's Campy's 1930 narration that they were going for the theme there. I mean,
I get it, but shouldn't they be a little bit more I mean, when you hear the Fallout free narration or you play in the Fallout games, it has great narration in it. This is just like monotone. It was boring.
I mean, it's comical advertising overtone, and that's what the idea that they were going. I don't think it worked that well, but it was certainly charming to an extent.
I didn't think so.
I think the sad part is the types of games I mean, I think Wolfenstein 2 looked pretty awesome, but Evil Within 2 was kind of a strange one. I was like, the first Evil Within didn't do well. It wasn't a good game, really. It had some good concepts, but I think they kind of fell a bit short, especially when they were touting that game as a, like, oh, we've got some pedigree from Resident Evil making this game, and then it just kind of was like, I don't see it.
I thought it was a Westworld game at first, dude. 'Cause, like, I was watching the highlight reel, and they didn't show like the name of the game until the very end. And so I'm seeing like the Evil Within 2, and they're showing like these kind of skeleton / bodies being raised to this white liquid, which is very much like if you've been watching like HBO's Westworld, how the machines get their skins and everything. So I was thrown off at first.
Maybe that's what they were going for, an appeal.
Very much could be.
Cinematic trailers.
Cinematic trailers are terrible.
That's E3. It's a trade show.
They
sell themselves to investors. Investors are pleased by friggin' flashy cinematics. They think that's really a representation of gameplay. Yeah,
really, because I mean, we see the Sony conference and there was almost no cinematic trailers. One thing I'll say positive about that.
Sony's moved with the times, but you've got a lot of companies at E3 who are still like back in the early 2000s mentality, back when we were just little whippersnappers, 17, 18 years old, and we were the actual game players, but the people making the decisions were people 18, 20 years our senior who never even played fucking games, and we're just and Microsoft is still Bethesda is still kind of sticking to that.
So it seems like it. I mean, when Evil Within was released and whatever, I don't really think it mattered how well the game was going to do in general. I think they had a sequel planned from the beginning, whether that's contract wise or whatever for the producer, director, whoever. But yeah, this is a disappointing sequel to announce. I don't think this one is going to do any better than the first one did. Not interested. I mean, then they showed off Dishonored 2, or Dishonored this
they showed off a DLC
apparently. Here, which is also a cinematic trailer, mind you. just another
buy our
great
DLC
one
based
here.
off this cinematic.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
again, falling short here, big time. This is a major IP. I mean, last year, their entire last half hour of the conference was dedicated to Dishonored. They were pushing Dishonored 2 like crazy, and then this is kind of the follow up to it, you know. And again, it's a game that didn't pull surprising numbers or anything.
Yeah, I mean, is it a major IP at this point? I mean,
for Bethesda, yeah. I mean,
the first game did okay, and then the second game did horribly, and it's just I think it's going to go downhill from there.
You know, Bethesda knows where their bread is buttered. They've got their couple major franchises, and I don't.
You mean Skyrim?
Well, I'm talking about Elder Scrolls and Fallout at this point. But, you know, I don't fault them for trying to branch out and trying to develop their other franchises. But, like you mentioned, this one was kind of lackluster. It didn't pull me in. I'm like, well, why?
Well, we need more than cinematic trailers. I think that was the big thing.
I agree.
Like, what was the point of Bethesda even doing a conference? They had nothing but cinematic trailers to show for everything but their VR games, and it was just predictable. All the games were leaked beforehand.
You know, it's like once you're in, you're in. If you pull out of the conference, whether it's press conference or your spot on the floor, you're kind of out for a while. And I feel like they made it a big deal to get in 2 years ago. Last year's follow-up wasn't that great. This year is kind of, again, I think it's been declining for sure. But they're showing us what they've got coming up. They don't have a big Elder Scrolls coming up. They let us know that months ago that, Elder Scrolls is not really a thing, and they confirmed it again at the conference. Elder Scrolls 6 is not even in development. Like, it's not a thing we're doing. They said, hey, you want some stuff that we talked about last year that's closer to what you know as Bethesda games? Here you go. We're going to show you Fallout, Skyrim, and Doom VR. You know, and we're going to give you Skyrim on the Switch. You know, and that's.
Did they really come out and say Elder Scrolls 6 is not in development?
Yes. Huh. It's not in development.
Which is really the most surprising aspect of that whole thing.
I think that's probably not a statement to be taken at face value. I think
probably.
No.
It's in pre-production.
I think it's in pre-production. They're developing assets, and maybe I will speculate here, but maybe hopefully moving away from that atrocity of a fucking engine they've been using.
No, I mean, you need to keep working on Skyrim remakes and DLC and different versions.
Elder Scrolls 6 is just going to be Skyrim, right? I mean, I feel like they've gone just about everywhere on that map, with the exception of maybe one territory. I mean,
the Oya?
No, nobody's releasing shit for the Ouya. All right, no one cares about the goddamn Ouya. But you know, they discussed last year too. They were gonna bring us stuff in VR. They did VR, and interestingly enough, the Doom VFR game is it like a standalone? That's kind of what I got out of this, right? It's not actually the Doom game. Is it different or is it redone?
Yeah,
for VR?
No, it's definitely different because
it looks different.
The movement is your typical point and click to move, you know, VR experience that we experience. You know, like moving around in VR with general first person shooter controls makes people sick.
Yeah, it's got the teleport stuff.
Yeah,
it depends. I mean, on the person, obviously. Some people will get sick of it.
Yeah, like I had no problem playing like Team Fortress 2 on my early like Oculus DK2. Like I enjoyed the hell out of it. But apparently, a lot of like when I let some other people play it, they didn't fare so well.
The Doom one looked pretty. I don't know what to say. I hope that it has regular locomotion controls for people can handle it. It looked very watered down.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a teleport rail shooter, man.
It's definitely not the Doom you're used to, moving quickly, action shooter. It's not that at all. And
that being said, it still looks fun. Like I'd be interested in playing it.
Maybe, but I mean, it's just like every other shooter in VR. So
yeah, with the Doom coat of paint.
Fallout 4 looked much more appealing in VR.
Did it? Because I don't know, man. You could play that game in first person if you really cared about it.
I think if you truly care about like the actual like community building and world construction aspects of Fallout 4, and that appeals to you in a VR environment, then you're gonna be drawn to this.
Oh god, we're showing this live action trailer now.
I mean,
this was awful. Don't do this ever, please.
This was very strange. Yeah, I didn't know what I was watching. But again, it fit like their sort of pseudo theme they were going for with like classic weird stuff. But what we got out of it was Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus, which seems it seems like Wolfenstein, and they went really in depth in the story here about what's going on.
This is probably the most interesting thing they had to present.
Yep, and they saved the best for last on this one, and I think that was good on their part.
Right. This is alternate world. The Nazis won, and now you get to deal with it.
Now, I wasn't I didn't play the new Wolfenstein. So the last one I played was Wolfenstein 3D. How did you feel about this one, Core? Because I know you played Wolfenstein, right? Like, does this excite you?
So yeah, it's I don't know. It's like the main character, BJ Blazkowicz.
BJ Blazkowicz.
In alternate America, but I think the setting and the story could be very interesting to play. And if they price this one properly, like they did with the original Wolfenstein, then yeah, we can do well.
Yeah, the original Wolfenstein did really well in reviews. It's a highly talked about game, and even the follow-up, the New Blood, right?
Yes.
So, New Order, Old Blood. I forget how that goes.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, but they were both considered to be pretty good games. An evolution of one.
So we be calling it the original Wolfenstein? I mean, the original Wolfenstein.
Well, okay.
Yeah, it's
the remastered Wolfenstein, or relaunched, I guess, if you prefer.
I would say reboot.
Rebooted Wolfenstein, yeah. All right. Any other thoughts on the Bethesda conference?
Sucked.
You know where your bread is buttered. Come on.
Yeah. Next year, if you don't show us Elder Scrolls 6, we're all just gonna tune out. So, get on that. Now, the Digital Devolver conference was only about 15 minutes long, and I wasn't sure if I was watching a video game conference or a horrifying nightmare fever dream.
That was the one.
That must have been the one, because it just got weirder and weirder as it went on, and they only showed us 2 games, which is I don't even know how to feel about that, but. Digital Devolver is a relatively small studio, so they're not going to pump out tons of titles.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't their E3 conference kind of meant to be like a spoof to begin with?
Yes, their entire conference was a spoof.
I was not expecting that. I was expecting them to actually show games. What we got was pretty funny.
Yeah.
For a bit at least.
Yeah, and
I do think it kind of dragged on and got worse and worse towards the end, but it was definitely worth watching. It's only 15 minutes long. It's pretty good for what it was.
Yeah, I did enjoy it. Just weird.
Yeah, we want to see games next time. Devolver. Yeah. They have games. They have more than three games that they showed.
I'm sure they do, but all they showed us was 2 top-down shooters. One cyberpunky. A top-down shooter and a serious Sam game, which I think people like that. I think they wanted that, and that's what you're getting from Digital Devolver. Basically, you're getting Ruiners, which is a top-down cyberpunk shooter. Seems pretty seriously toned. And then you got Serious Sam's Bogus Detour, which is probably not seriously toned whatsoever, because Serious Sam, if you know anything about that.
I don't know. Serious Sam is pretty toned.
He is pretty buff.
He's pretty serious, too.
Yeah, he's pretty ripped. So if you're into that kind of... I think, Corey, you're into the top-down shooters, right? You always all divers and...
Yeah, when done appropriately. But my stance upon what I call the retro gaming. And this kind of fits into that.
But it is a bullet... This one's... Serious Sam is more like a bullet hell.
No, it's a top-down retro bullet hell.
Yeah. And the other one seems a bit more calculated... semi-action oriented top-down shooter.
Yeah, I wouldn't call the other one retro.
They're different. Yeah, it's not retro. Yeah, it's. But yeah, they're 2 different games with similar camera perspectives, but definitely different games, different themes going on here. And a very strange conference. Yeah, totally worth the watch. I think this was probably my favorite one just because it was different. I got a lot of buzz because of that. All right, so we've got Ubisoft. So Ubisoft. What do we want to say about Ubisoft? So, yeah, you said this is the one I didn't watch. So they kicked out Aisha Tyler. She's gone now.
Mm-hmm.
And no more Girlwood stuff or weird T-shirts and
there was
bombs that were misplaced.
There was probably F-bomb. I don't recall as many F-bombs, but There was F-bombs. There's Ubisoft trying to be edgy as usual.
Okay.
And then they had pandas dancing on the stage for Just Dance
Oh.
with Korean pop that sounded awful, and my ears were burning.
I wish we had our in-house Nintendo fanboy here to help me understand the situation here. But what the heck is going on with this Mario plus Rabbids like Kingdom Battle?
This is the game of the show right here.
Like,
This is probably the game of the show.
I guess as the standard Nintendo fanboy, I'm with you, Core. This seems really like off-brand to me.
No, I mean it's off-brand, but it works.
It's what Ubisoft wants. They want Nintendo.
No, it's not really off-brand. I mean, Nintendo has always, oddly enough, done this with their IP, and they pretty much let a lot of people play with their IP. So I mean, it's not that unusual. But
the act itself is not unusual, but just kind of the environment that the characters are in is kind of like, I don't know, I find it very off-putting. Like, like all the other games, like Mario Tennis, Mario Soccer, Mario Olympics, they're all very kind of family, kind of off-brand entertainment. And this one is legitimately a little bit more edgy in the context of Nintendo's image.
Yeah, I can see that. So at its core, what is this game? This is like a tactical shooter?
It's an SRPG.
Shooter?
No, it's an SRPG.
An SRPG, okay. And this is probably what Ubisoft has been working on for some time behind closed doors. They have wanted to do this, I think. And it's funny,
clearly.
This isn't the first time I've heard someone say they wanted a Mario and Rabbids crossover. So maybe somebody at Ubisoft heard that, or maybe they were already thinking about it and they're making it happen. And I think it looks adorable. I mean, that's just what it looks like.
I mean, this might be a reason on to buy a Switch right here.
Maybe.
No, who am I kidding?
Maybe. So we saw a very differently toned pirate game from Sea of Thieves with Ubisoft's Skull and Bones. It looks like they took the best parts of Assassin's Creed Black Flag and put them in a game.
That was going to be my comment.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this looks way, way better than fucking anything Microsoft is doing. And we know that Ubisoft does have pedigree with Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which I don't care if you hate the Assassin's Creed series. Don't tell me that was not a good pirate simulator.
I watched my wife play hours of it, so yeah, it looked like a pretty good pirate simulator.
They got the sea shanties going and everything.
They're doing something similar here. It's the sea battles and stuff, and it looks all right. I mean, I wish we had seen a bit of gameplay, not just another cinematic trailer.
Yeah, would have definitely loved some gameplay.
But something they're working on, and yeah, kind of interesting, I guess.
But if this is the artistic direction they're going for the game, then I'm fully on board, and I look forward to seeing more of it.
Wait a minute, I'm pretty sure I saw a gameplay trailer of this.
Well, not at the conference. Maybe.
Sure? You sure about that?
Yeah, I don't think there's any gameplay at the end of this particular video that is showing now. But I'm sure there is more stuff. I mean, I think this was probably one of the games that they may have demoed on their floor, right? So.
Could be.
I mean, if I was Ubisoft, I would have done that. I certainly would have done this over the Crew 2, which they also discussed at the conference. I feel like the Crew 1 wasn't that exciting. There's another one coming.
Yeah, and this cinematic is, they're very much inspired by the movie Inception.
Is that what they're going for here?
Just I don't know if you've watched the trailer or not, but yeah, you'll see what I mean.
Yes, no, I have. I was unclear on that. The thing they stuck in the middle though here was Assassin's Creed Origins, and what we're coming off of is a year where
Egypt.
In a year where we didn't get an Assassin's Creed game. This is what they're giving us, and it looks like they've really taken the time to do something a bit different with the Assassin's Creed UI and the interactions with the eagle and stuff like that, and
there's more RPG mechanics.
Yeah, it looks kind of like they're bringing the best of their IPs and leveraging them into Assassin's Creed. Because this looks very much like Fallout, or Far Cry, rather.
I think it looks really good.
Yeah, it looks all right. It's different. who knows if different is really what people are looking for. Would hope so after all the years of very similar gameplay.
Yeah, I think after the sales numbers of the last couple releases, they're like, yeah, different's good.
I mean, I think ultimately it will play like Assassin's Creed.
Yes.
You know, like any Ubisoft game really, where you climb up towers, you discover stuff, and then you stealth backstab people.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you're still moving through trees and stealthing through bushes, and there's still core gameplay mechanics that are there. You know, do you guys think, like, who do you think reached fatigue first? Was it Ubisoft on Assassin's Creed, or was it people on Assassin's Creed, or both?
I gotta say both.
I don't think it's as much. I mean, I guess I would say Ubisoft because their games just were shit. The last few releases weren't that great. Well, at least Unity wasn't that great, and that hurt them a lot.
I mean, one drives the other. You know, when the studio itself that's making the game, they're being forced into just saying, okay, you're gonna make the same game, but you're gonna put it in France this time, okay, or this time we're going to England. They're like, okay,
just changing the backdrop all the time.
Yeah, that transmits down to the players. They just see you're just changing the backdrop. You're adding maybe a few new characters, maybe some gameplay elements, but
killing off characters people like.
Yeah, you're still climbing towers to friggin' just unlock areas and doing your crafting crap, and yeah, it's time for a change.
But I mean, should the gameplay fundamentally change like that? I think what you're asking is for a fundamental change in gameplay, and I think no, Assassin's Creed should probably stay with that kind of gameplay. But I like that they're adding the RPG elements this time around, and they're trying a few new things. I mean, it's not really new in terms of like this is a unique gameplay. We've never seen this before, but
yeah,
it's new for Assassin's Creed.
Right. And, the combat looks mostly the same. I mean, I guess in these kinds of games, it's hard to get away from this like group combat thing. I mean, The Witcher had it, and honestly, like even in The Witcher 3, like the combat was probably the most uninteresting part of that game. And Assassin's Creed combat has never been good either. It's fighting 5 guys, one of them's lunging at you, the other 4 are watching. It's kind of like construction workers here in New York. It's not a lot getting done.
Could be like a Muso game where you're fighting 150 monsters and all of them are watching.
Yeah, that's what Ubisoft needs to do. They need to make Assassin's Creed Dynasty Warriors. Assassin's Creed Warriors. Creed Warriors? Assassin Warriors. What are they going to call that one? They're going to release it for the Switch, right? That's what they should do with Assassin's Creed. That's the next Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed Warriors. Put Link in it because, yeah, you have to put Link in it. All right, so we saw a bit more of South Park, The Fractured But Whole.
We did.
Did this game finally get a release date or what?
Yeah, it has I don't remember what it is now.
It's a tentative release date.
Okay, October 17th.
They also have a mobile version coming out. Different game, obviously, but I don't think we posted it here. But they're pretty excited about their mobile version of the South Park game.
I've been waiting for this one over a year now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it to score 100 on Metacritic.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the first one. The first one was a great game. I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, the first one, everyone seemed to really like it. Puns weren't too punny. Humor was good, I heard. So.
And the Australian censorship screens were hilarious.
Yes, I heard about those as well. So it wouldn't be an Ubisoft conference if they didn't show us an Assassin's Creed and a Far Cry. So we saw some Far Cry 5.
Far Cry 5, Montana.
Taking place in Montana, which is, yeah, okay.
Making people mad.
Another thing, it's another backdrop, right, that they just changed for these games. Ubisoft certainly has a formula, and they are not, don't deviate that much from it.
I mean, I don't know. I'd say Far Cry games are at least pretty different in terms of gameplay for each series.
I played Far Cry 3 a bit. It was all right. From what I heard about Far Cry 4, it was kind of like more of Far Cry 3, but not in an interesting way. I wonder what Far Cry 5 is going to do to innovate on Far Cry, because there's only, again, this is like Assassin's Creed. There's only so many games of these you can make before people are kind of like, it's the same shit over and over again. I run around, I skin animals, I climb towers, I mark guys, I shoot them, like, I take over camps. You do that for 30 hours. Eventually,
you might get a hang glider.
Oh, yeah.
Makes it all worth it.
Listen, we already hit hang gliders, right? In Just Cause, all right. We've already seen the hang glider thing, all right.
Oh, and I'll flat out say you're better off playing Just Cause than the most recent Far Cry.
And I think they're different kinds of mayhem shooter type games. Like Far Cry is a bit more calculated, I think. Maybe that's not a good thing to say, but I mean that's what it is.
Does Far Cry let you launch a cow into freaking orbit with rocket mines? It does.
Probably not. No, I don't think the physics are that great. Maybe you'll get like 3 feet left off. So this and the last game they showed us was Beyond Good and Evil 2, which people were pretty excited about when they heard that it was going to be a game that was in production, and now we actually saw something of it. So I'm not sure that people are as excited as they were before, or they're equally as excited or more excited. I feel like this particular game has a kind of like a fan base that almost reminds me of like the Ico game fan base, where they're like, damn, I really wanted this game. I really want it. I'll play it no matter what. And okay, so here it is.
Yeah, it's a game you're going to have a hard time selling to like a new group of gamers who never actually played the original Beyond Good and Evil, which was an original Xbox game, if I recall.
Yeah, which is like out of print now. You can't even get it. So
yeah. Actually, I think it's on Steam, but anyway.
Can you get it on Steam? Let's check that. So. Probably can, actually. That, or you might be able to get it on Uplay. Maybe on Uplay.
I think this trailer is probably like offensive in 20 different ways.
$5 right now on Steam sale. Yeah, you can get it.
But yeah, they did show some gameplay of this too off conference, but it was very, very early gameplay. So this game is not even close to done. We're gonna have another 2-year wait. Probably announced way too early. We did know that this was in development, but then it wasn't in development, and it was in development again, and it wasn't in development. It's like, is this really in development?
Yes. Now it is. Here's a video that confirms that it's in development, and we are totally going to deliver this experience to you in 2 years. Kind of like what Square Enix does, right? With their like games like Final Fantasy VII, they're like, it's coming. You're going to probably have like a child before then, and you'll have refinanced your mortgage, and
the game will be completely different from what we promised in the game.
Yeah. And we're going to chop it up into 6 parts instead of 4 because we thought that was better. Yeah.
Yep.
That's what's going to happen.
By the time
buy it anyway.
Yeah, we'll buy it anyway, and by the time we get the 6th one, we'll be getting like scammy reverse mortgages.
Yeah, you'll be collecting Social Security, and you'll be on Medicare. You'll get it. You'll get it in your lifetime, hopefully, or your grandchildren's lifetime. It's coming. Please look forward to it. So that was everything that Ubisoft showed us. Any thoughts? Overall excitement? Disappointment?
You forgot the most important game.
What?
Just Dance.
Oh no, you didn't even put it on the list because it's not important
I
to mention.
Explicitly didn't put it on the list because it looks so stupid.
Yeah, was that that was where the Dancing Pandas came out?
Yes, the Dancing Pandas with the Korean K-pop. That was I don't know how people can listen to that crap. I like some K-pop. Not all K-pop is bad, but this was bad K-pop.
Like,
this is clearly not intended for our market demographic.
I'm not sure that it's but like, is it intended for the market or demographic that is watching the E3 conference?
No.
Absolutely not.
Because you've got a Jurassic Park issue here, I think, with Dancing Pandas, and every other year that they show us Just Dance, where it's like, you spent so much time like trying to like figure out if you could, you didn't think if you should, kind of thing. Like, do we really need a big showcase for Just Dance every year? Do people care about it that much?
It could be worse. You could have the EA conference where half of it is shit people don't care about. I mean, how many celebrities are going to bring out for sports? I mean, how much money did you waste?
There's the difference between
people don't give a shit.
I think there's a difference between shipping out a celebrity who's on camera for 20 seconds to say hello about your game, and Dancing Pandas or choreographed music numbers that last 4 minutes. All of the journalists and smelly nerds in the audience are kind of like sitting there in like an awkward sort of silence, looking at each other like, "Am I watching the same thing you're watching?"
I mean, I'm sorry.
Were we poisoned? Was there LSD in the soda? Like,
Watch the EA conference in its entirety, and watch the Ubisoft conference, and then tell me which is more cringe. That Just Dance number was pretty cringeworthy, but there was much more cringeworthy stuff over at the EA conference.
What I'm just saying is that it's every year they do this shit with Just Dance, and it's just out of hand. Like,
I don't
even care about who cares about Just Dance?
We don't care about celebrities that have nothing to do with video games. Just stop, please. It's a video game.
On that,
conference.
we can agree. We can agree on that. All right. So Sony kicked it off, showing us Uncharted 4: Lost Legacy. We saw this one. What was it, last year? Or was it the PlayStation Experience? I believe we saw some of this.
Oh yeah, this is kind of a theme on the Sony conference. We saw all this shit before.
Yes, we saw all of this
Except
shit
for the
before.
VR shit.
I don't even feel like putting most of this shit up because we saw so much of it already. What did we not see? We didn't see Monster Hunter World. I don't think we saw that one previously, right?
We didn't see the Horizon Zero Dawn is getting DLC.
Yeah, but that was a cinematic trailer, wasn't it?
I guess. I don't even remember.
Let's scan through right now.
Good. They were pretty good about showing nothing but gameplay. I guess that would be the one exception there.
Yeah, it had some in-game footage, but it was all flyover stuff. Show off new monsters, I guess.
I mean, they spent 10 minutes on Days Gone again. It's a fucking zombie game that is exactly like The Last of Us. Do we really need this game, number one? And why are you spending so much time on each conference showing this game off? It's not that impressive compared to the other games. I'm pretty sure. I mean, there's people somewhat excited for it, but most people just seem to take the announcement like I do and fuck another zombie game. Who gives a shit?
I was gonna say all.
Am I wrong?
No. I was gonna say all of that. Like again, what was it like 4 episodes ago? We said please stop doing zombies. It's 2017, current year. We don't need zombies anymore. I feel like we've been dealing with zombies since like 97. It's like been 20 years now. Like we're good on zombies. I get
God
it.
forbid, creative people get creative and create some new enemies for us.
Yeah, I mean, I even stopped watching Walking Dead. I stopped. I watched like 1 episode in season 7. I'm like, fuck zombies. I'm done with zombies. I'm no longer afraid of zombies. If the zombie apocalypse comes, I feel like I've got this. Like, I'm good. Had enough video game training. Yeah, so Uncharted 4 Lost Legacy, it's an offshoot. Is it called Uncharted 4 Lost Legacy? Or is it just Uncharted?
That's what it's called.
Okay, all right.
It's called Uncharted.
Right, Horizon Zero Dawn, Frozen Wilds DLC, more of the same on that game. Although that game looks great, scored really well.
I
want more of it, you get more of it.
Monster Hunter World looked that great. I mean, I'm excited to have Monster Hunter games coming to PS4 again, on PlayStation again. So, but it just looked like... I'm so done with Capcom. It's just anything they show, you could do better. You did good with Resident Evil 7. We need more of that.
Put a little bit of this Days Gone game on here while we're talking. Right, so Days Gone, Monster Hunter World. They showed off a remaster of a remaster. That's par for the course, right? On these Michael games.
It's like a remake of
Shadow of Colossus. I feel like they should have just done if they're just going to do another game, they should have just done another game. I mean,
that's what I'm saying too.
Trying to ride the high here off of the last one, Last Guardian, which kind of was disappointing. A lot of people said. I guess after waiting 5 years for something and it doesn't blow you away, that would be considered disappointing.
I feel like they have this like notion, probably correct, that like Shadow of the Colossus was kind of like a masterpiece of the PS2. And I think they're scared of doing like an actual sequel.
Really?
Yeah, I think the creators themselves are too worried that they'd mess it up. They don't know what they did right.
Or
they don't know what they did right.
Or that they would have another Last Guardian situation on their hands where they spend 10 years making a game that doesn't sell as well as that really warrants that development time.
It's a huge loss there for Sony, but hey, they gave it to us. At least they're good on their promises, I guess. So the next game was kind of a poor showing. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Oh, in fact, you put a comment here. One of the worst shows.
Yeah. The reception for this trailer was just god awful.
Yeah, it was pretty cold.
Yeah,
even Marvel fans.
It like even just the visuals. Like, what the hell?
Getting a bit of lag
Like,
in the stream
it's
here.
Mass Effect Andromeda tier BS.
Which had much lower resolution.
It doesn't look that great, but I mean, it's. I guess it's cool. They're doing another Capcom MVC game. I guess. I mean, what is the fighting game community? You got your finger on the pulse on this one, Chocobro? What do they think on this one?
They hate it.
Yeah,
They hate it. They fucking hate it.
And one of the developers came out with a brilliant comment about how people don't care about the characters in fighting games since there won't be any X-Men characters, which is a big mistake. They don't care about the background of the characters in fighting games. They don't play them for the characters. They just play them for the mechanics, which is completely not true.
Yeah, it's not true at all. But it's like traditionally, like Marvel vs. Capcom games have been like 3v3 kind of like fighters, and this is like a 1v1, and they're bringing in like the gem system that was the complete flop in like Street Fighter vs. Tekken, and it's all these just bizarrely bad decisions.
Gem system, so you can pay more
getting.
money for pay-to-win elements in the game.
Yeah, more pay to win in my online multiplayer, please.
Just what you need.
In my fighting games that are 1v1, my skill versus another person's skill and their gems.
Yeah, it's just a complete failure. It's not the same. It's not the same style of game. It's got that weird pay-to-win-ish mechanic, and like the art itself is horrible. Like it's just a across-the-board failure.
That's the thing that stood out to me was the art style just kind of didn't. It doesn't look like MVC did, which was very smooth. By comparison, this looks just kind of like too cartoonish. I think not comic book enough.
I don't
think
like
it
goes in that direction. I think it's just badly done. Like it's done by people whose skill are just not capable of making something suitable to that game.
All right. Well, I'm not in the fighting game community, so I defer to your expertise on the hate level of this game.
Hate level 11 out of 10.
Yeah, it's up there, huh? I don't know what the hate level in this one is, but Call of Duty World War II, we saw some gameplay for that, about 4 minutes of it.
This
looks
is
like Call of Duty.
Complete fucking fan service.
I mean, I thought this looked pretty good.
No, it looks fine, but I'm just saying, like, after, the whole kerfuffle about, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, which was a good game, they're just like, you know what? We went too far in the future. Let's take it back to the roots.
We went too far.
Can I bring up a little controversy on this game?
Sure.
You may.
There are going to be black female Nazi soldiers
All right.
in the multiplayer. And no swastikas, because, you can't show that. So don't offend anybody.
No, you can, just not in Germany.
Yeah, I mean, don't offend anybody.
You can't have historically accurate games now. It might offend people. Anyway, moving on. Great.
Yeah,
Call of Duty World War II.
It's exactly what you expect.
Yep. They showed off some bunch of VR stuff, so we saw the Elder Scrolls Skyrim in VR. I saw a game called Star Child, which when I watched the trailer, I think to myself, is there a reason that this game is in VR? If there is, I cannot see it. Because it is like a side-scrolling kind of game. I don't get it. Why?
It's not even doing anything interesting with the VR, and the gameplay itself doesn't look
VR
like
can be deceptive, though. Like, sometimes the environments that they put you in, like, that you see on a 2D screen in a little YouTube window, they cannot convey, like, the scale and the depth that you're going to see in VR. And I'll give it that. They may have that going for them. I won't know until I try it.
Yeah, I agree with Core there. It's you can take some traditional perspectives in games like that, like overhead views or side-scrolling views, and transfer them to VR in a way that's pretty immersive. It's not done well most of the time, but it's definitely possible.
And it does look like they're trying to do that a little bit with the camera and everything. The way it's set up would probably look a lot better in VR. But then again, I don't see like anything interesting that like you see some things interesting in VR sometimes, like the use of You said the controller popping up and doing stuff with the stuff coming out of the controller, coming in the controller, like in the playroom. I talked about it earlier with the tower defense type game from Japan coming out called No More Heroes Allowed. They do that stuff with the controller as well. And there's just a lot of interesting ways you can implement VR, and it doesn't seem to be implementing that. It just seems to be relying on the perspective of the camera, which could be good or bad, but I'm not sure this is going to be a great VR game because the gameplay doesn't look great.
It's hard to see, like, this has been the problem, right? It's tough to show these games off on a flat screen if it's not in your face. Like any of these, like I know what they're trying to do by showing the scene where like she's laying on the floor and the robot's arm comes punching down, because maybe in VR that's jarring and it makes you jump, but watching on a live monitor, it's not going to do that. So
the scale would be ridiculous in VR. I mean, it would look amazing, but it would
look huge. Yep.
But I'm just not sure, like, just on looks, it's worth making a VR game, and it just, like, can you spend a little more time on gameplay? Because I didn't see anything interesting about the gameplay there.
Neither did I. Like, is it a puzzle game? Is it a walking simulator? Like,
and I think we'll talk about, like, later on some interesting stuff in VR with gameplay in a video near the end.
All right, so we saw a video for The Inpatient, which seems like they're going for some kind of sci-fi horror kind of theme here.
Yeah,
but
this is all VR stuff, by the way.
Yeah, all VR stuff here.
This is from Until Dawn developers, so they made Rush of Blood, which I loved. I think is a great VR game, one of my favorites. So I'm kind of excited for this. I want to see what they do with just like a traditional adventure style game in VR. Probably more like a visual novel. I'm sure it's going to have light gameplay elements, but.
Supermassive Games, is that who's doing this?
Yep. Supermassive.
All right, yep.
And it looks really good too, like graphically. So,
looks okay. Again, we just got to see more, I guess, from this stuff. Like, hard to show off, but you got to show me a little more. Like, just don't have me walk around. Show me like what one of the gameplay elements is going to be. Is there going to be puzzles? Is there going to be shooting? Is there going to be hiding from monsters? Like anything.
I think it's probably going to be a visual novel type game. It's going to be like Until Dawn, because this is based off the Until Dawn series.
So tell me that in the video. Tell me that. So convey that to me. Show me a dialogue wheel or choice.
I think it's probably still pretty early. This
something.
Game, so.
All right. They showed off Monster of the Deep Final Fantasy 15 Fishing, which I'm not even going to bother putting up because it's fishing.
Oh
no! You got to put this game of the year.
This was game of the show for me, and I'm not even joking.
You have a very low bar, and
I do
raise it a significant amount.
I mean, I think it's well established in our community that I do love the MMO fishing.
I understand.
Look, and VR fishing is a good use of VR. It really is.
That's fine. That's fine, but it's fishing. Not that the next game was any more impressive, because Bravo Team VR shooter.
This was awful. Why are you showing this?
Looks bad.
This looks like, first off, that's the most generic name you could possibly think of.
You want to move that paragraph down below there, Core?
Yeah, I can work on it.
Okay. The next one was adorable. This is a game called Moss. It's about a little mouse.
And this is what I'm talking about, interesting use of VR. The way they do their puzzles and stuff in this game. I watched some of this game on the show for since the conference show, and it intrigued me on this one. It's probably one of the only Sony ones that really intrigued me that I haven't seen already, obviously. But
yeah, every girl I know at work and in my life that watched this trailer is like, I want to play this game, but I don't want to buy VR. It's sad, but it looked cute.
And yeah, the way they're doing puzzles in this game is just an interesting use of VR. You move stuff around in VR space. You're not controlling. You're not really. How do I put it? Like, you're kind of in VR watching the character you're controlling, but you're not really controlling. You're not really like omnipresent.
Interesting. Yeah, I see what you're saying here. I mean, as long as games can do stuff with the VR to make it justified that it's in there, I think it's fine. And I think that's because you're actually writing it in the header, by the way, Core.
Oh yeah, could be.
And the mouse like acknowledges you're around and stuff like that, and you help it. You guide the mouse to solve puzzles.
Yeah, that's neat.
And
that is a good
like
use.
you see, moving stuff around in VR, and it's a really good use of the headset. I think this game is going to be. I think this game's going to do really well, actually. Maybe not commercially, but since VR doesn't have a big platform for it, but it's going to do well critically.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that one. It looks good. It looks like a title people pick up in VR, and good on them. That's a neat looking title. We saw a bit more of God of War. I don't even think Sony honestly needed to show more God of War. I think people were pretty sold on the presentation we saw last time at the PlayStation Experience.
This presentation looked great too.
Yeah, it looks great. It's just God of War. You want it? Go buy it. You don't
But
really
again,
need convincing here.
I already saw it. It already looked good. So,
yeah,
you didn't really sell me on anything here, Sony.
You're just justifying the purchase. I'm just slowly taking the $60 out of my wallet. Now it's in my hand. All you have to do is go and release it, and I will hand it to the dude at the store.
Oh, I don't know if we mentioned it. It did get pushed back to 2018.
That's fine. Let them work on it a little longer.
Although I wouldn't say even pushed back. I don't think this ever had a release date until now. And this was the first pick, I believe, for the draft.
Oh yeah, he's gonna have to swap that out, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, if you're listening, Seifer, I'll tell him. I'll tell him later. We'll disappoint him.
He knows. He knows.
Okay. David Cage was kind enough to bless us with some of his genius at this year's E3 by showing us a bit of Detroit Become Human. So we saw. Is this an all cinematic trailer? I can't remember now.
No,
I mean,
like we saw some gameplay, right? Somewhere
it's
in
an
there.
all cinematic game. So.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you make a couple choices here and there.
It looks a lot like
the same as a Telltale game.
It looks a lot like Heavy Rain, you know. I'm hoping you're not gonna have to make like strange button combinations with your fingers that also require you to use your tongue, your ear, and your toe at the same time.
But hopefully, if you ignore those QuickTime sequences altogether, you get hilarious action sequences.
I really hope so too. That's the best part.
Looking forward to that.
I thought like in Heavy Rain, like I really liked like the kind of like pretzel gameplay.
So ridiculous.
It was like ridiculous, but I was
like, honey, you need to help me lift my right foot because I need to touch the R2 trigger. He's like, what? I'm like, just hit the R2 trigger when I tell you. Some of those puzzles were just odd, man.
Is this an advanced combo in a fighting game or something?
It's basically that. Basically that. Yeah, very strange. This is my draft pick. I hope it does well. I kind of poke fun because it's David Cage, and I think he thinks he's super awesome, like Peter Molyneux does. But I actually did not like Heavy Rain, despite playing through it twice. I think the first time I wasn't sure if I liked it, and the second time I was definitely sure I didn't.
And what did we tell you about picking games you don't really like? I mean, it doesn't usually work out, does it?
No, I know. I'm just hoping that he's learned something from it, and he makes another quote-unquote masterpiece, as he would say.
I mean, a lot of critics thought Heavy Rain was a masterpiece, and I think this looks pretty good.
Good on them.
It doesn't look bad.
Good on them.
I will say this out of Heavy Rain. I think the game is like 5 times more enjoyable with the French dub as opposed to the English dub.
Well, that makes sense. That is his native language, right? If he is a French guy, so.
Yep.
He is David Cage, and he is video game developer extraordinaire.
Yeah, I was just really surprised by that because usually, like, usually you have like the intended like large audience voice dialogue for a game, and that's usually always the best one. And then the rest are just kind of like thrown together at the end. But in this case, like that was clearly the best one that stood out from like the English, Japanese, etc.
Oh, I missed out. I should have played it in French with subtitles.
So try it sometime.
Damn it.
It's legit.
I already got rid of that game. I'm not doing it. It's one of those games that made me quit console because I was like, this is stupid. I'm not. This is what they have controllers for now. This is what they do. Just done with that. So we saw some Destiny 2 as a follow-up to that. Destiny 2. It's Destiny 1 that looks like Destiny the sequel. I
have this.
This is part of the Bungie's 10-year plan, right? To release a sequel, right?
Yeah, I'm hoping we get another 10 years of content with this game that lasts 5 years.
Yeah, Let's see how they
Was it
do
even
this
5 years?
time.
No. How long was it been?
Like
It's been
3.5.
4.
Yeah, not even. I think 4 years at the end of this year would be.
Did you hear that they're already removing content from Destiny?
Good
like just
for
removing
them.
it. They're removing content.
Like, yeah, it's gone.
It's gonna be a day one DLC. We can't give it all to you because then we wouldn't make any money. Something. Yeah, I wasn't even putting this game up, but now it's over there. Now, this last game here, I think unimpressive is a word that I would use for it, but it's the Spider-Man game. We saw Insomniac giving us a Spider-Man game. So Insomniac are that's that crazy game that they make.
Infamous. They make
Right.
Ratchet and Clank.
Ratchet and Clank. That's the one I'm thinking about. Yeah.
Probably the most gorgeous games you could get on PS4, and this one's probably going to be no different. But
visually
I don't know,
stunning, but man, QuickTime's like all over the place.
That's what I'm thinking, because the gameplay, which looked like Arkham Asylum combat, only better. That looked good, and then you get into the sequence that was just nothing but QuickTime events for a very long period of time, and I'm like, really, do I really want to just play a game? QuickTime events are the worst thing you could do in game. So let me just explain this why. You're talking about you have cutscenes that you watch, and the idea is that you're watching the cutscene, right?
Yes.
And then you have a QuickTime event where you actually have to break away from watching the cutscene to play something that really doesn't involve much exercise and brain power.
Unless you're playing a Metal Gear game, in which case you're doing something while there's an awesome QuickTime going on beside you.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Web shooting requires precision, and I don't think they can expect the players to do everything so precisely, so they just QuickTime the crap out of it instead. Makes sense to me.
But I mean, why not just have a really long cutscene at that point? Do we need the QuickTime events? Do
Insomniac certainly thinks so. I just want to put QuickTime events in the game. I mean, can you blame them? I don't know. Maybe they think that you can get a better, this is the best gameplay experience that can be delivered with this hybrid Arkham combat system and a lot of QuickTime events to script out the boss battles and large sequences. Like the movie sequences, basically, is really what it looks like they're putting the QuickTime events in for.
And I do have a feeling it's going to be a very short game.
Think so? Like 5-6 hours is kind of short? Or?
Yeah, I think maybe less than that.
Wow. That would be
Which
tragic, I think.
Game, but played the Infamous game, the Infamous standalone game. That was kind of basically DLC for Infamous. It was priced accordingly, but it was like 2 or 3 hours long, and it had open world stuff on top of that. So it's not very good amount of playtime for that type of game. The actual first Infamous, I think, was maybe 10 hours long if you played through both Evil and Good playthroughs, which are pretty much the same thing except you had different powers.
All right, well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the game looks good. Really, I don't know. Something about it just feels kind of unimpressive. Like we've seen this before,
And it was announced. It was announced at the last conference, so it's nothing really. This was not a surprise announcement or anything. We knew this was going to be shown.
Well, they showed us some cool combat, I guess. What they thought was the best of the best here. Looks all right. Just I don't know. Nothing new. Nothing new. So that wrapped up the Sony conference. I really felt like they thought, man, this is a really big reveal here, and this is gonna take us into, I don't know, the next year or something. I mean, I don't know.
No, I think this pretty much shows you Sony's back to arrogant Sony, where they don't have to show off their games. They're just like, we're in first place. We're gonna stay in first place, which is traditionally never what happens. Just like Nintendo thought they were in first place. I mean. Yeah. And they keep getting beat out, and then we keep switching every generation or so. Who's on top? And I think that's going to be a problem for Sony if they don't step up their game. If they just keep riding on this, the whole crossplay stuff we talked about before, where they're denying crossplay for all the systems. Like, why would you do that, Sony? What is your plan for the future? Do you think you could just ride the goodwill you had?
I don't know. I think they're in a good
position
because you've got Nintendo, who's just basically saying, "Well, we're going to do our own thing," and Microsoft, who's kind of floundering, saying, "We're trying to find our place in this world."
You know what I didn't hear at the end of this stuff, like the past, and maybe because it's where we are in console generation, but you didn't hear a lot about like who won E3 this year. You know, who was like the best, whatever, this, that, and the other thing. Because I don't even think it really matters at this point. I think they all kind of did poorly, other than Nintendo, really.
I've heard nothing but Nintendo won E3, and I don't honestly agree with that.
But there's no competition. How do you win the retard race? You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, Microsoft had a bad showing. Sony was meh. It was all stuff we'd seen. Digital Evolver was really interesting, but it wasn't game winning by any extent. Like, I feel like it's not even a competition anymore.
I personally think Microsoft won, with Ubisoft a close second, and then I would say like Nintendo and Sony are around the same.
Yeah, but you're talking level. Like
conference How do you quality. Justify the Microsoft win? Because they announced a new console?
I think if you take out the Xbox stuff, that was a good set of announcements for PC. I think they showed some pretty solid games.
But isn't that the problem? It's an Xbox conference, and they basically were like,
it wasn't. It was a Microsoft conference. It wasn't an Xbox
conference. Might as well buy
conference.
a PC. Right. I mean, I don't think it matters. Like who won or whatever. Like what was best in show, because it was kind of all just the same to me. Like nothing stood out, and yeah. I don't know.
I mean, my commentary was that Nintendo, quote unquote, won just by being, you know, the only people who really showed up with like, you know, kind of like a full set. And that, you know, not that it was particularly good or anything we didn't know or we saw a lot of surprises. It was just the only one that wasn't meh.
Well, let's get into Nintendo, because Nintendo showed off what Nintendo needed to show off, which was here we are putting out all our original IPs on the Switch again. So they started off with Yoshi, pretty standard Yoshi game.
Yeah, it didn't look. Nothing about this looked impressive. It looked kind of like we're retro platforming.
But we're bringing Yoshi to Switch, and then we're bringing Fire Emblem Warriors over to the Switch, even though you've already got it.
And and it was. We didn't already get Fire. What are you talking about?
Yeah, this is a new game.
Oh, it is a new game. Okay, so I thought it was like a 3DS port or something over here.
No, you're thinking of Hyrule Warriors.
That is.
Which this game basically is the same thing with Fire Emblem characters.
Yeah, and then they got Kirby, and that's cool, I guess.
Kirby looked pretty good.
Again, this is just Nintendo doing their thing. Then they did Pokken Tournament. I mean, I'm just gonna breeze through these because
wait. Let's talk about that.
Can stop on Pokken Tournament. Yeah.
Yeah, they said Pokken Tournament is coming to the Switch. That is not an announcement. They didn't show anything. An announcement.
Real announcement was they said that a core Pokemon RPG title is coming for the Switch. So not the 3DS.
You have to show something.
That is an announcement.
Don't waste my time telling me something.
A pretty big announcement.
No, don't waste my time telling me something I know is going to happen.
Shut up. What it did was create speculation, right? You're talking about putting a core Pokemon RPG title on the Switch. In a world where the 3DS's future is kind of uncertain at this point. So what is Nintendo saying by doing that, you know?
They're saying that Switch is the new hotness.
That's right.
I also welcome this. It's going to be like the first console Pokemon game ever, basically.
Ever. Like, that's kind of a big deal, I think. That kind of announcement, I know they didn't show anything, all right? I get it. I'm with you. But they told us something there, that it's Nintendo's outlook on things. No,
that they're done, that they killed their own
pretty much
system
pretty much
for a gamble on a system that probably isn't going to be top selling.
I mean, if you want to talk about bad announcements, let's talk about Metroid Prime 4. Let's show you the name of a game and then quickly move past it.
42-second logo trailer.
What is
That's all
that?
It is. It's a logo for 42 seconds. Waste my fucking time some more. And people got so excited
They
for
went
this.
Crazy.
You know what? People need to stop this shit, because this is pre-order culture at its finest.
Well,
just because they announce a game, you don't even have to see the gameplay. You don't care about the gameplay. You're just gonna buy it because it has Metroid in the title.
That's right.
It's fucking ridiculous.
That's right. Just like Ubisoft cashes in on Assassin's Creed every year because it says Assassin's Creed in the title. Just like Call of Duty sells every year because it says Call of fucking Duty in the title.
No, Ubisoft doesn't say, "Oh, we're coming out with a new Assassin's Creed. Buy it." No, they show it first. I mean, sometimes they put the pre-order and all the pre-order bonuses up before they show the game. But
you know how these Japanese companies are, man. They're always like, "Please be excited about this. Please look forward to it." In fact, that is exactly what he said when he announced the Pokemon RPG. He said, "Please look forward to it." You can go watch the video. That's what he said, and it's hilarious because that's how they function.
I mean, to me, that sounds like a failing of Ubisoft and everyone. If they could get away with just showing a logo, you know damn well they would.
Yeah, well, Nintendo didn't because Nintendo has a ravenous fan base. They knew that that's all they needed to do. That's all they needed to do. They're like, we're not even going to show this game off. This game is in pre-production. We've barely got art for Samus for this game, but we got a fucking title splash, so we're going to show people that.
It is not a fucking commendable measure when your attach base is like 1 to 3 times your install base.
Well, I mean, not everybody wanted to buy a Switch, I guess, and.
Well, no, they bought the Switches, but they only bought 1 or 2 games.
There wasn't a lot available for it on day one.
No.
I think
that's. And I guarantee you, one of them was Zelda.
Where are you getting these numbers from? Because any game that releases on the Switch right now is selling a lot, and there aren't a lot of games for the Switch, so people are buying a lot. These games are selling really well. Disgaea sold a ton, and it never sold. I don't think it sold that much on the PS4.
No, I'll concede to you there, sir. I don't know the current attach rate numbers for the Switch, but I guarantee you they are weighted heavily on the Nintendo published side.
No, they're really not, because there's so little titles on the Switch right now that people are buying every single title.
People buy whatever they can get their hand on at this point, and I think Nintendo did what Nintendo needed to do by just saying, listen, we're going to justify your purchase. This is stuff that's coming out in the next year or 2 that you can be excited you can be excited about. Hey, look, we're getting Skyrim. You can play Zelda. You can have Zelda items in it. We're going to show you the Breath of the Wild DC, Splatoon 2, some stuff that we knew about. But they showed it off, and then some stuff that they're porting over, you know?
June 16th, Nintendo Switch attach rate, now 1.6.
Not so great. Not so great. A lot of that is probably people who just own Zelda, and people who own like 3 games.
I'm just calling it.
Zelda sold like 1.6 million copies in the first week or so. Like about 1.1 million of those were for Switch, I think, or about 900,000 of them. The rest were on Wii U. So more of those games sold than Switches because it was on 2 platforms.
Let's talk about Sony. Do you think not Sony? Yeah, Nintendo will have any sort of third-party support this time around? Because I know we're seeing Ubisoft, but Ubisoft is always on board for everything. Well, I mean, they're big on VR too.
Rocket League is coming, so Psyonix, heard people. That's been something that's been talked about since the Switch was announced as a handheld-esque system that people from Rocket League wanted to play on the Switch. So that's coming. Yeah, and you've got Ubisoft on board. I mean, that's 2, and I think did EA say they were putting something on it? FIFA, right? So.
Yeah, but
it's a start. It's a start,
yeah. And we're seeing some from Japanese developers as well. But a lot of people, you have a few developers saying, no, we're not on board with this system at all. We just don't see the point. Yeah, 3DS developer of Atrium Odyssey is not on board with the Switch.
Right, but those are like loud minorities. Like I think most developers and publishers are still kind of in the middle where they haven't decided. Whether they want to see what other people are doing.
I think that's a problem, though. I mean, they're not gonna have good third party support. It's just a given that when it comes out a year from now, third parties might try to dip their toes in it, and then I think Mario and Rabbids is going to sell really well because it has Mario in the name. But anyone that doesn't have a specific support directly from Nintendo, they're not going to do as well. And I think for now they're doing well because there's so few titles on the Switch, like we said. So you could sell a game and people are going to buy it at this point because they're so hungry for games.
Yeah, and they should be because the thing is new. It didn't exactly have a great launch in terms of titles, but now stuff's coming. Mario Kart's coming. Smash Brothers is coming. Like stuff is coming.
it's all first-party games, and if you look at the future lineup for the Switch, it doesn't. It's just pale in comparison to the PS4's future lineup when it launched.
Course.
You're talking about like 100 games versus maybe on the PS4
Nintendo,
versus maybe like 15 on Nintendo Switch.
Nintendo has managed to stay afloat the past 2 generations, basically on first-party support and Bayonetta. Okay, so if they did it with those systems, and they've got a better system here that is a bit more compatible with modern gaming, I think it's still a matter of time. The jury's still out on it, but I think you have a higher percentage chance of a big publisher wanting to come on board to put something on the Switch.
But I mean, is staying afloat really what you want? What you want to be?
Nintendo has oodles of money. Like I'm breaking all the rules. I'm putting Super Mario Odyssey up on the stream, like even though I don't want to, because the game looks fantastic. I know it's first-party title, but it doesn't matter. Like Nintendo's gonna sell 3 million, 4 million of these. Like they know they can, and that's what's gonna happen. And it's not what we want. We want Nintendo to be better than that, but they're not. They just do what they want. They're allergic to money. They discontinued the NES Classic, and now in the fall we're getting the SNES Classic in September. Like,
which already has like 100% markup.
And
yeah,
I just
like,
want to say,
it's kind of crazy.
I just want to state about Super Mario Odyssey for a second. You guys are damn fools for letting me swap that pick.
We're
damn
doing
fools.
it for
this
fun,
is
man.
Oh, come on.
I know. Look at my. It's gonna score 104 on Metacritic. And somehow
106 at least.
It's gonna be off the charts because it's
this
freaking
game
Mario.
looks so good.
It looks like Mario 64 in HD. That's what it looks like. And Mario 64 was probably one of the best 3D platformers of all time. So
I actually rate Mario 64. See, I would say Mario 64 and XCOM are the 2 best games of all time.
All right. Well, some people think Super Mario Galaxy is one of the best games of all time. So,
well, I don't think Super Mario Galaxy is as important as Mario 64 was for gaming. Period.
Nintendo knows. I think Nintendo is constantly between this thing, like where they know what they have on their hands, and then they also don't know how to sell it properly. Maybe they're changing a little bit, but they're going to push first party. That's their thing. It's Nintendo Direct. Not necessarily there to tell you about what Ubisoft is bringing and what EA is bringing. They're just talking about Nintendo. Like, they didn't even show FIFA. They didn't bother. But they showed Rocket League because they know that Rocket League has an install base of over 30 million players, so that's a big deal. Like, even that was brief. Like, they focused on what mattered to them, which is Yoshi, Fire Emblem, Kirby, Pokemon, Metroid, Zelda, Mario. What else do you... Smash Brothers Mario Kart. What else do you need? Like, you've got it.
Good start if you want to change Nintendo. Don't put a flag on our video.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Don't take down Strike us.
They were going to flag us once we put rabbits up there. You kidding? It's just going to be how it was.
Do you think they can actually flag us for that? I'm wondering.
They're gonna.
That's Ubisoft's property.
I'll let you know tomorrow when I get the email. But in any case, so I guess we've talked a lot about our overall comments. I mean, that's all the conferences. Did you guys want to throw in any additional thoughts on things here?
Nope, good.
No, I'll do it.
Okay, go ahead.
So, I still think Microsoft had the best conference. I know you guys don't agree. I think the worst is probably Bethesda, because they didn't show shit.
I'm up
and
there,
it wasn't funny.
Right up there with you. Bethesda definitely had a weak showing.
We'll just not even count PC Gaming Conference.
You know what Bethesda should have done? They should have showed us the opening splash screen to Elder Scrolls 6, just like they did with Metroid Prime 4.
They should have totally.
People would have been crazy. They would have been like, "Oh my god, it's coming!"
It would have been the best conference.
And then it could have just been like 2019. This would have been.
No, they don't have to put a date. You don't have to put a date. Why would you put a date there?
But they could have done that, and the people would have that conference would have been from this is kind of ass to oh my god, Skyrim, like Elder Scrolls 6, whatever. Like let's talk about that for a month about what it's going to be.
Pre-order now.
Pre-order now. Pre-order bonuses. Get Mario hats in your game because it's coming for the Switch if that's still around in 3 years.
Switch will still be around for sure.
Yeah, it'll still be around, I bet. All right. Yeah, okay. So you think Microsoft won? Nintendo, you need to change things up a little bit maybe? Show us a bit more?
Yeah, the thing I liked about Microsoft in particular was the indie spotlight they did. Like, it was kind of disappointing how little indies were shown.
We went through them so fast, though. It was like a montage.
Yeah, but they spent some more time on some other titles too that were pretty indie. Like I think the last night, like we talked about, got a little bit of its own time, and it wasn't just a montage. They spent a good amount of time on indie games, and I mean EA did a way out, but can we really even call that indie? It's published by EA. It's not even like part of their like EA Play program, I don't think.
All right. So another E3 has come and has gone, and we are left perplexed, breathless, confused, disappointed. Really many, many feelings all at once. But I don't think that's any different than most years. This wasn't like a breakout E3 or anything like that. I mean, again, we're mid-generation. We're kind of not impressed by things coming around. We're getting a lot of sequels. At least I feel like for the time we've moved past remasters in a way. Now that the generation's a couple of years old. Maybe that's good. Anyway, we've got a little bit of news to cover. I kind of trimmed some of this down, but stuff we covered last time. So when we left off last time, before E3, Square Enix had released I.O. to the wild along with the Hitman IP to float around and maybe find a buyer for them or something like that. But in a recent tweet, and I'll read it for you on I.O. Interactive's Twitter, they announced that they are officially an independent studio and have complete control of the Hitman IP. So good on them. I'm really happy that I.O. is going to be retaining full ownership of that IP, and that no one's going to be sort of their boss on this whole thing other than themselves. That kind of bodes well for the Hitman IP. There are a lot of people who really like it. A lot of people that really I don't think are even aware of it. So I feel like it's kind of it could be better known as far as an IP goes.
No, we'll get to see how important a publisher actually is.
Yes, absolutely. So they're going into business for themselves, and that's good for them. You know, so you had mentioned AI that you were disappointed in Sony and sort of their lack of indie market development and stuff like that. You know, and I thought something was interesting. Like the last few E3s, they've brought out this kind of husky guy who's like I forget his name, but he's sort of the head of like third-party development, but he's really like the guy who
Sean Layden?
No, not Sean Layden. This guy.
Adam Orff, I think it was.
Yeah, something like that. He's the guy who goes out and finds indie studios to publish on Sony platforms.
No, he's gone.
He's gone. Okay, so that's why he's not there anymore.
Mm-hmm. He actually went to Dive Kicks. The guys that made Dive Kick.
That's interesting.
And he's helping with the development there, or marketing, or I don't know. Yeah. I think he truly loves indie games, and I think losing him was a big deal.
He always seemed so excited when he was on the stage to talk about like just little known games coming to Sony. And maybe because he's gone, maybe that's why their indie stuff isn't pushed as much now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sony being big on indie, maybe they figured like No Man's Sky was such a big mistake.
Oh wow, that was
how they hyped that. Maybe that's why, but I feel like Sony is not taking any risks with indies anymore. Yeah, I mean, they showed indies off on the VR stuff, but they kind of have to, since the AAA developers are not completely on board with publishing indie stuff, and I mean VR stuff. And
yeah, it kind of sucks, man, that No Man's Sky left such a bad taste in people's mouths for indie games when, like, let's be real, that game was being pushed as anything but an indie game. It was being pushed as a AAA developed title, and the guy running that thing had a big mouth and sold us a lot of empty promises.
And, at the last year's conference, we didn't see much indie either. And all the conferences before that, for like 4 or 5 years, we've had lots of indies from Sony. I mean, they were big since Journey. I think they were big on pushing the indies, and now we're seeing them once again pivoting. Like I just see this as a big change in Sony's strategy, and I think it's it's a mistake towards it's like the downfall. It's going to be their downfall, and they're going to lose out next generation. I do think Nintendo can swoop in here and capture the market again.
I think you might be right.
They certainly can, but will they?
Yeah.
Right now, basically, all 3 console manufacturers are pretty indie unfriendly.
And I think that's a big mistake. And It's not just indie; it's just the mentality these new console developers have. They don't seem to understand that goodwill goes a long way. PS4 probably sold more than the Xbox One because of all the goodwill it got. I mean, Xbox One got nothing but bad will, and the PS4 got goodwill. And I mean, the price had a lot to do with it as well. But
having read the article, I think there's like a little bit of blame on the indies here too, because a lot of independent studios are like actually walking away from these deals. It's not completely one-sided here. And that's just, they complain about in the article for like, the contracts are too complicated. And, that's where I feel like the indies are kind of shooting themselves in the foot, because at some level that's your job. Like, don't complain about doing your job.
I hear you.
I don't know. I think the idea of being indie is you don't have to go through mounds of paperwork. You just work on the games and you release the games, preferably with publisher's help.
I mean, I think
that's certainly the idea, but that's not the reality, and it never has been.
Yeah, I mean, the word indie itself is kind of both it's like calling, like when someone says they're Jewish, like, it's a culture, but it's also like a background, and it means a lot. Like, indie could mean cheap game that is usually pixelated, low quality, or it could be independent studio, which makes really good quality games that are maybe AA or single A kind of games. They generally don't command a $60 price. But like, there's a lot of ways you can define what an indie game means, and we've seen a lot of the lines blurred a few times on a couple of different titles over the years, and like, I'm not even sure what an indie game really means anymore.
I think by definition now is that you don't have a bona fide publisher.
I mean, that's what it should mean, right?
Well,
then these guys get published on major consoles, and it's kind of like they have a publisher in a sense that kind of tells them, you're going to be exclusive to us for a while, we're going to pay you this money.
Well, that's for
distribute your content,
They're not beholden to that publisher, though.
Well, that's true. Unless that publisher gives them a shitload of money to finish
the
the game.
They're not wholly owned by Sony or Microsoft.
Yeah. Okay. So you feel like Sony's just not pushing it, and they should. They should be pushing more indie stuff on their platform.
I feel like you're just seeing a trend here the last year or so where Sony's making big mistakes, and this is one of them.
In the world of PC gaming, let's face it, the interesting titles are coming from the indie developers. Like, period. Like, you see them on Steam every day, and
most amount of titles as well, right?
There are some phenomenal indie games that come out. They have no publisher. They're self-funded. A couple guys, maybe a larger studio of like 12 to 15 guys, but that's an indie group versus an actual published, funded group by a major publisher. They're not receiving a large amount of funding from a larger organization.
Yeah, I mean, that's by technical definition, yes. I don't think most people look at it like that. They kind of look at a game and are like, oh, that looks like an indie game. Based on an art style or the quality of the game or the price point. Yeah, that's definitely the stuff behind it all. All right, AI, you emphasized that this was like the most important thing that apparently happened in the past week or so. So I'll give you the floor on this one.
Yeah,
I think Core would rather talk about this one.
Sure.
No, go ahead and lead it off. I'll give the update.
All right, so Take-Two issued a cease and desist order against Grand Theft Auto mod creator of Open 4, which I believe is mod development for Grand Theft Auto 4, 5, and Max Payne. So we got a bit of an update on that. Rockstar urged them to reconsider. So it's kind of weird when the
no. So may I interrupt here? So Take-Two actually issued the fucking legal action against them. It was Rockstar that said, get the fuck away, let us handle this, and Rockstar actually engaged developers of this modding framework, and they reached an agreement.
So what was the egregious thing here that Open 4 did?
It encroached on their money space. They basically, Grand Theft Auto has sold I think GTA 5 is up to like 80 million copies or more, and they have a huge online thriving community where they have built this online world where everything is stacked against you unless you pay money. It is the ultimate like cop out, free to play. Like you're free to play, but you're gonna get like a couple $1,000s per mission. Where if you go spend $20, you get a shark card and you get millions of dollars.
I see.
It's one of those schemes.
So they just went right for the bottom line, and they don't like.
Yeah,
that.
so
I mean, obviously they've been doing that for a while, right?
Yeah, this is a mod that enabled you to like build a minigun in multiplayer that shoots money. So you would literally shoot money at other players. And
awesome.
Those other players would make millions of dollars, and they don't even know. Like they're not cheating; they're just getting shot with money.
Well, let's clarify for a second. These mods were also banned in single player as well. This was specifically a single player mod ban. The multiplayer mods are already banned. So they issued a cease and desist order against people making single player mods that had nothing to do with their multiplayer, nothing to do with this big payment model you're talking about. It just made no sense, and it's just one of the cases where developers, greedy developers.
This is a publisher and versus developer disagreement.
Yeah, and it's very, very odd to see. Like you usually don't see this where you have the publisher saying one thing and the developer's like, no, we don't want that. We don't want we don't agree for publisher on this. It's not something you see every day.
So you don't.
Who holds all the cards here?
I will flat out say, as a GTA 5 player on the PC side, when I got the game and I saw how fucking retarded the multiplayer was, I was like, how can I break this? And I immediately started to engage in memory hacking, and I found ways to memory hack the game. And
that's why you got banned.
Yeah, I got banned for 2 weeks, and I lost my entire bank account, but it didn't matter because I already spent the money.
You devil, you.
I know, right?
So this worked out.
It was stupid. It was stupid. Like all I had to do was like open up Cheat Engine 64 and start like looking around memory addresses on money on transactions, and I found a transaction where I could sell something and easily intercept that address and change the value. And that's all I did. Like that's how stupidly simple it was.
That's Cheat Engine 64 for you.
Oh, it works. But that's how easy it was. Like they built no security into this thing, but all of a sudden GTA 5 has become this huge money maker for them because apparently people on consoles buy these shark cards like crazy.
They can't hack, so yeah.
Well, it's not just consoles, obviously. It's PC as well. I mean, it's everywhere. But this is the biggest money-making game, period.
Yeah, but the PC market is a minuscule percentage compared to the console games.
Well, it's been released on 4 consoles also,
I mean, this game sold exceptionally well on PC as well. I mean, you could argue that.
No, and of course it did sell exceptionally well on the PC because people wanted this modding capability in there.
Yes, they did.
And so the confrontation finally came down, where Take-Two was like, hey, this mod is cutting into our bottom line on the sale of shark cards, and Rockstar's like, well, yeah, but they bought it on the PC so they can mod it. So we have to find some middle ground here. Right. And thankfully they did.
I'm not sure where you're going with the shark cards, though, because this is talking about single-player mods.
Well, no, it's both. No, it's both. The mod... So Open 4 was capable of modding both, basically.
Yes, but they already banned the multiplayer mods, and that's still in place. You still can't mod the multiplayer.
Yeah, but that's the problem.
This is specifically
because of their poor security built into the game originally, people were able to use this platform to build multiplayer mods, to build a minigun that literally shoots fucking money at you.
But this wasn't like the first time they sort of got like in trouble, essentially, for all this.
No, it's not.
Now they're playing nice together.
I mean, there are people, like, literally, I'm telling you firsthand, with firsthand experience, there are people who have been banned, outright banned because they joined a game where somebody was running a modded copy, most likely running a mod developed with Open 4, where they got shot with a gun that shoots money, and all of a sudden they're like now $500 million where they had like $30,000 before, and they got
gets flagged for
that. To be fair, it's not the first time this has happened. I mean,
no,
it happened with Dark Souls too, where people were hacking, and then the people they were victimizing. Well, if you want to call it victimizing, they were doing
in a sense,
cheat. Yeah. and then they would get banned.
You're becoming accessory to a crime you didn't know was being committed. I mean,
exactly. You got shot with the money gun.
Yeah,
yeah. You're technically the victim of the crime, and you're getting the punishment.
You're the victim of a victimless crime where the victim was Rockstar's bottom line, I guess.
Take-Two's bottom line.
Take-Two's bottom line, yeah. All right. Well, it's good to know that these guys had a conversation like actual human beings, because obviously Rockstar realizes the value of having a strong mod community for their
and that's the important part. Rockstar had the leverage to come to Take-Two and say, step the fuck back, and Rockstar went and talked to the open forum people and said, look, we got to come up with a solution. We want you guys to provide this platform to make mods for the game. We want them to be single player only. Can you help us there? And they both agreed and said, fine, we can do this. And so the distribution of the platform commenced again. It's a good story. It's a happy story.
It is a Cinderella story here.
It would have been a happy story if it never happened in the first place.
Well, true, but just like with trademark stuff, you got to protect your IP. Like, you have to protect your money as well. You have to protect your money, and if this is the way you're making money, no matter whether you like it or not, they have the right to do that. I mean, you sign an online EULA and everything else as a player. I'm sure no one reads it, but it basically says don't cheat, don't hack. If you do, we have reserved the right to ban you. And these mod creators is probably the same sort of thing. Like, there's probably very loose guidelines for this stuff, and they're just creating a guideline for it and saying, listen, you can create mods, but you can't create mods that do this, this, or this, okay? And everything else is kosher.
I don't agree with you. I don't think you have to protect your IP. I think, you have to protect it from people literally copying the game and selling it, but...
Well, tell that to Sega, man. Look how long Sega's been protecting Streets of Rage, right? There's been two fan-made games for that.
Sega is exactly the person not to look at.
I'm just giving you an example,
or Nintendo, or any of those Japanese companies. No,
right.
Don't look at them.
Because eventually they may want to release a game that is that. I mean, it's the same reason we don't have the backwards compatibility just flipped on for every single game on Xbox Live, even though they could probably do that because they need everyone to say and handshake about it.
A large portion of the problem comes from that Rockstar never really intended this thing to grow the way it did. They created a game and created a multiplayer mode, but what they really created was an MMO. But they never put in the security for that MMO.
Oh, they ported it, right?
No, they provided way too much trust to the client. And on consoles, you can trust the client. On PC, you do not trust the fucking client.
I don't think it had anything to do with Rockstar not considering that this is going to be a smash hit, because it was already a smash hit on consoles.
No, you're right. But like I said, they put too much trust in the client. Yeah, it was a crappy port. They trusted the platforms, the PS3s, the PS4s, the Xbox Ones. They trusted them because they're a trusted platform for the most part. You get to the PC,
they're closed platforms.
It's like the fucking wild west on the PC, dude. We have access to our memory. We can manipulate it, modify it. What we
absolutely can. We should probably move on.
No, I want to go back to Sega a second here. Do you think people buying a copy of Streets of Rage or whatever is going to prevent Sega from selling future Streets of Rage games?
I do not think that. No. What
I think it will
giving you
IP.
is a precedent, which we've discussed before. If you don't defend your IP as a precedent, no one defends it for you. And now we heard Sega is talking about leveraging their old IPs. Guess what one of the games they're releasing is? Streets of Rage. And we've seen them DMCA fan-based Streets of Rage games before. It's the same shit, over and over again. They go out to protect it. They did it with the two Metroid games. The Pokemon Uranium, the same thing. It's just you have the right to protect your bottom line. I'm not saying that you're not a dick for doing it, but that's their right. And this isn't.
I mean, you have a right, but you look at Witcher Free. They don't care about the
you have they don't care two companies stuff. Completely different philosophies. Project Red is very open source.
Who has a better philosophy?
Whose games do I buy? That's the answer. You know what my answer is. I buy CD Projekt Red games.
Then why
I don't even own.
That you have to protect the IP. You don't. If you don't protect the IP, nothing's going to happen.
From a legal standpoint, you if you want to and you think that's what you have to do, then that's what you go and do. And these companies all think that's what they have to do.
But they're wrong.
Who protects your IP if you don't? I mean, it makes sense that you have to. So, they're wrong in that sense, but they're not wrong in that if they think that that's the only way to make money for them in the future, they're going to protect it, and they have every right to do that. think there are certainly some extremes, like Nintendo flagging every freaking video, even if you use their trailer. There are absolutely extreme examples of that, and none of them are right. They're all just extreme. Living on the extreme poles is not the place to be. I mean, even that doesn't mean CD Projekt Red is cool with you using The Witcher, likeness for everything you want. I'm sure there's even limitations for them. So, Anyway, a discussion.
If there is, I haven't heard of any.
Because, yeah, and they probably don't go and look for violations of it because they don't care. Their thing.
I mean, why care? If somebody's enjoying your IP, chances are you're just gonna create more
I
fans.
don't know, man. I don't know. Why don't you go ask Nintendo? Okay, ask them yourself. Go ask Sega. Go ask any of those Japanese companies that are still living in the fucking Stone Age when it comes to distributing and making games. All right? All those JRPG makers who still think that those games are super awesome, interesting. They're not. They're old school. That's fine if you like that, but it's a dying market. Sooner or later, no one's going to play those games anymore. No one plays point-and-click adventures anymore, so they redid that. Come up with something new. Anyway, we have a shitload of announcements, rumors, and debuts. Let's really power through these. So, Metal Gear Survive, delayed until 2018. Not a dry eye in the house, I'm sure, for this particular announcement.
I don't know. Seaford loses some points there.
I was still looking forward to this.
Well, Konami is sorry to disappoint you, my friend, but yeah, you're gonna have to keep waiting for this one. It's unfortunately, I mean, another year isn't terribly bad.
There's zombies in it.
There's lots of zombies. Cuphead is finally releasing on September 29th. This was a game that was talked about 2 years ago, and we thought it was gonna come out last year, and didn't. So coming out this year, they said it. It's coming. If you're into this old-timey, ragtime kind of cartoon style, looks pretty cool. Maybe you'll pick this
Probably
game
gonna be the first Xbox. Yeah, probably gonna be the first Xbox game I actually buy.
There you go.
Is this available on PC too?
I think it will be. I don't see why it wouldn't be.
I think this would be a good title for PC. All
right.
Play it on a controller.
Crytek announced Hunt Showdown in big capital letters.
See, when I first read this title that you put there, I'm like, wait, they shut it down after they just announced it? Because it looked like Shutdown.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, this game has been in development for a very long time.
Long time, and yeah, so you wander through the woods and you like kill other people. I think is this a multiplayer game?
It is. It has an interesting mechanic. You play like for different hunt groups, and you're playing a big multiplayer game. And it's kind of like a competitive shooter, kind of like Left 4 Dead, I guess. Okay. But you're hunting down monsters, and you got to try to be the first players to kill monsters while fighting off your fellow hunters.
I see. Risk first reward.
Yes, and like when you kill a monster, I believe it pings you on the map so everybody knows your location. There's a lot of interesting mechanics going on here, and I think this game looked really interesting and unique, and I'm excited for this game, actually.
Alrighty then. We saw a video for Dynasty Warriors 9.
So I think this one's interesting too. This is the first open world Dynasty Warriors game.
Oh, okay.
Also, it doesn't look like a piece of crap like most Dynasty Warrior games do. It's actually utilizing the PS4 hardware.
There you go. Kill lots of enemies.
I think they're going all out with this one. So I mean, they could have probably named it something other than Dynasty Warriors 9.
No, take advantage of that hardware. You got all that stuff. You can render lots of units. There you go. We got an Unreal game called The Vagrant.
And this game looks interesting because they kind of like totally like 100% copied the Vanillaware style of game. Like Murasama, Odin Sphere, etc. Which could be a big plus for them. Depends on how the game actually turns out, but I at least like seeing that style some more.
All right. Next one up is Visage. Actually, don't know what this one is. I don't even think I saw it on the list when I was looking through these games.
Horror game.
Okay, horror game. So that's a horror game. I think this is an all cinematic trailer, right? Not telling us a whole lot about it.
I wouldn't say cinematic. It looks like actual gameplay, but yeah, it's one of those trailers that maybe. Well, I mean, it's a horror game. How do you sell it? It's just jump scares, and you don't want to reveal all your jump scares in the trailer.
Next up, Toby, the Secret Mine.
It's like Limbo without Limbo.
Looks exactly like Limbo, actually.
I actually think this is a trend we're seeing where people try to copy that style that did really well for indies, and
yeah,
I don't think this is going to do as well.
But you know what? Like, this studio already made a follow-up to Limbo that used a different art style, so it feels weird going back to copy the old one. I mean, Limbo was a good game. I finished it sometime early this year. It was very enjoyable. I don't know that I'm like, oh, I want to jump into another one that's just like it, though. That's not my style, but I don't know. It's there if you like it. Hack //g.u last
No, it's dot
code? Hack. Oh, dot hack, yeah. Okay. Right, dot hack is an anime. I watched a couple episodes of that way back in the day. Back in my anime days.
I think this was a pretty... I'm excited for this. It looks like this is more than just a regular remaster. I mean, it looks fantastic, the art style and everything. They're definitely going with a higher budget on this. And apparently it's all free dot hack games, which I never played any of. I'm sure Chocobro played them.
Yeah, I played the first two, and then I kind of stopped.
But yeah, it's all three of those games put together. They made a lot of improvements to like lessen the grinding and things like that. So I'm excited. I want to see how this one turns out. I don't know much about dot hack, so I don't know how this is going to turn out.
All right, next up, our favorite game here on the podcast, Segarin Kagura Beach Splash is getting a Western release. So don't bust that nut yet. Wait for this game to come over to the West, because...
Look, this is a very good game in terms of gameplay.
Yeah, it's...
it has lots and lots of gameplay.
No, it actually is a really interesting...
Huge tracks of gameplay.
So, yeah, it's kind of like a mix between Tribes and a card battle game.
It's kind of like a mix between like a pervy Japanese anime and DOA volleyball.
No, it's not like that at all in terms of gameplay.
It's exactly like that with water guns instead of volleyball. Because that's the point of this game, right? You soak the other chicks with water, right? That's what you do in this game?
It's a third-person shooter, or third-person splasher, as I call it.
Yes, it's a booby shooter. Yep.
Now, these are really good, solid games, and I definitely recommend it. Even if you could get past this pervy shit, if you enjoy that pervy shit, more power to you.
More power to you. We're gonna move on.
I certainly do.
More sophisticated style of game that Chocobro likes.
Game of the year. Say,
I would say
Ramosa of Dena. But what would you say?
I think Sunrun Kagura is more sophisticated.
Sure.
Damn it, man! I was trying to give you a chance.
What about East 8 here? What is up with East 8?
It is the best entry yet.
You already played this one,
action
right?
RPG. Yep, I have played it, and it is the best entry yet in the seminal, action RPG East series. They had that new formula that they 3 games ago, and they keep making it better. It's a solid game, even if you don't like East. Like, it's actually just legit good now.
Cool. Looks all right. Next up, we've got Tenertia. Yeah, this game is like it's some kind of 3D platformer.
They're calling it a twin-stick platformer.
Yeah, I was gonna say it has some shooty elements to it. That's interesting to bring those two genres together. I wonder how the fusion of that will actually work and function. I mean, misleading sometimes.
Usually, I'm not into these types of games, so this looks pretty good.
Twin-stick platformer. That's really interesting.
I want to see how that plays out.
Next up, Dungeons 3. For those who played Dungeons 1 and 2, there is a Dungeons 3. This is, what is this, an RTS game? Dungeon RPG crawler?
Yeah, it's like they call it a dungeon management simulator.
It's a SRPG.
Like you build dungeons. No, you build dungeons. It's more like an RTS.
Okay, it is more like an RTS.
But you build dungeons first, and then the do-gooders come in and you try to thwart them. I guess it has like defense elements to it.
Defense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's got a nice cartoony art style, something right up the alley for Blizzard style players, honestly.
Did you ever play Dungeon Keeper? It's that game basically.
No, I did not play Dungeon Keeper.
You missed out.
I know. Everyone says that, but I do have it. I got it for free. I never played it though. Never got around to it. All right, next up, a game called Archangel, which got a pretty long showcase video.
I just want to point out, why did Sony show Bravo Team and not this?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I'd want to know the answer to that too, because this game looks a lot better than Bravo Team. And it's in VR, so this should have been something that they showed us at the show. So for this one, you're like in what, like a mech or ship?
Yeah, you're in a mech of some sort.
You're shooting stuff.
Gundam.
You're in a Gundam, yeah. We like our Gundams. Yeah, there's a lot more of that game. If you like looking for something in VR with like a Gundam style stuff, check that out. You actually move around in this one too. You don't just like rotate. So
yeah, a little bit.
Stuff to it. You move slow.
As slow as you can, yeah. So people don't get sick. I hope like games start offering multiple levels of comfort settings for VR. I mean, it shouldn't just be teleport or move around slowly or.
Yeah, they've really synchronized the gameplay to the lowest common denominator in a lot of cases. So next up, a game called Unruly Heroes, which to me looks a lot like a Dust Elysian Tales, Child of Light kind of game.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I was thinking when I saw this game, Dust Elysian Tale, except you have kind of like a party going on as co-op and everything, which Dust did not.
Right.
This looks really good. I'd say up there in the top 3 trailers we've seen.
It looks neat. These kind of games do not hold my attention. They used to. They don't anymore. It looks cool.
Yeah, because we should really play some co-op of this.
You guys are more than welcome to play some co-op. I think I'll pass on this one. Next one's a game by Cyanide Studio. This is Call of Cthulhu, which is a really big, it's a big IP to put on your game there. You gotta do it right, because there will be people who will mock you. So this is a horror adventure, I'm assuming puzzle game, right?
Mm-hmm. And I think they do a better job. This is how you do it, a horror trailer. It's a much better job on this trailer than the Visage one we saw earlier.
This is reminding me of like what 7th Guest 11th Hour should have been. If you guys ever played those games, they were sort of the direct competitors to the Myst series. Way back in the day. They're puzzle games. Yeah, they're puzzle games, and a lot of FMVs. But they're puzzle games, and this one is like right up in that alley. You're in a mansion, and you're solving puzzles, and I guess you're trying to escape or figure out what the evil is. If you know anything about the Cthulhu mythos, you'll probably at least
trying to
want
stay
to play
sane.
this one. Yeah, you try to stay sane. I mean, that's the whole purpose of the Cthulhu mythos and RPG, and even the tabletop games. So. Which is a great pen and paper system to play. Actually, if you've never played it and you want to do something different than D&D, D20 system, try the Cthulhu system because it's pretty good. All right, next up is a game called Fortnite.
Yeah, this is the one done by Epic. It's kind of like a side project.
Just totally skip the game. But yeah, we could talk about Fortnite real quick. Fortnite is another zombie game.
Zombies.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong screen. Hold on, there we go. Try to find some gameplay up in here.
This one has been in development for a long time, and we keep seeing release dates for this, and then it falls through. I don't know what they're doing with this, because I don't think this is going to be very successful. Yeah, it's like a MOBA type game where you build up towers and You build up a base and defend against zombie hordes.
Yeah, pretty much. It's been a side project of theirs. It's never been like it's essentially what they work on when they're done working on Paragon and Unreal and everything.
Yeah, this does not look that great, unfortunately. Ni no Kuni 2 got a bit more of a bit more trailer here. First Ni no Kuni was pretty popular, from what I understand.
This one looks way better in every way, and I haven't played Ni no Kuni, so I don't know for sure, but
it's adorable. That's all I remember about Ni no Kuni.
That art style is wow.
It's so like
that cell shading type art as well as they've ever done.
It just looks like a Studio Ghibli,
Yeah, it looks like a studio. That's impressive. How can you making a game look like a Studio Ghibli movie is just absolutely impressive.
And the first one looked a lot like that too. So my wife played it, and yeah, it was all right. Seemed alright. She enjoyed it.
I want to talk about this Genesis Alpha 1 game that you skipped by.
Well, let's what? Oh yeah, I missed that one. Okay, well I got Knack 2 up now, so you're gonna have to talk about that.
Oh my god. Okay, Knack 2. It's Knack.
Knack 2.
And now it's 2, and there's more stuff to do. You could turn into Little Knack at will now.
Yep.
Which is amazing, and you can switch back to Big Knack.
Co-op. You can be 2 Knacks. Knack number 2.
This is the platformer of all time, greatest platformer, and now there's 2 of them.
Another one of those games with a questionable sequel kind of thing. Like, why did they make this? Not sure. Why did they make Evil Within 2?
It was a PlayStation 4 release title. Probably the only unique IP on PlayStation 4.
Didn't much care about it then, so.
Knack.
Yeah, Knack. All right.
You know Knack has like the biggest cult following ever, right?
No. Genesis Alpha 1 is going to have the biggest cult following ever, right?
Clearly.
That's a
game. The
video
where like I look at the game and I don't even understand what's going on.
Okay, I'll explain what's going on here.
This is it's confusing.
So you have like an RTS base management type game here, and then once you build your base, you go into first person shooter mode and defend the base while building crew and stuff. You're building clone armies.
It's like dungeons.
I mean,
it sounds like a lot like Command & Conquer Renegade.
Okay, yeah.
Was Command & Conquer Renegade a first-person shooter?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know.
So there you go. There are no new ideas.
I thought it was unique. Yeah.
All these ideas are old.
Now I'm embarrassed.
All right, so Tropico 6, which is another game that people really love and follow, the Tropico series, getting yet another installment.
I don't think we saw gameplay, but I mean it's Tropico. We know what the gameplay is.
You know what it is. It's politics and stuff. So there you have it. All right, Blade Strangers, which looks like a fighting game.
Yeah. Mashup from Code of Princess.
It is a fighting game.
Yeah, it's from some companies' IPs that they have like the Sayonara Ume, whatever her name is.
It's a mashup. It's a mashup game where you've never heard of any of the companies mashing up.
That's the best mashup game. Like really,
I mean, it looks like a more technical fighter rather than like a combo-based game like Blaze Blue or something, or Guilty Gear.
You know who needs
Air
to
Dasher.
You know who needs to get together to do a mashup fighter? Let's do Ubisoft and Naughty Dog and God of War. Yeah, let's do all that. Let's do a mashup fighter with all those characters. Plus, we'll just do more. Like, we'll just keep adding characters.
So, like, all the generic characters from Ubisoft games that nobody ever remembers.
Yeah. We'll do like a PlayStation All-Stars 2 and put all those characters in the game. That'll be fun. At least it'll be characters we know about. Last one we got to tell you about is a game called Gorn. It's coming from Devolver Digital because it's just that kind of game.
Why didn't they show this at their conference?
Literally like a Roman arena fighter that is just gory as hell.
And it's in VR.
Yep. Maybe that's why I didn't show it off, because They didn't know the best way to spoof VR for the conference, so they didn't do it. They gave us this instead. All right.
I mean, this was like fun.
A little bit. It looks like fun for about 5 minutes, like arms.
Yeah.
Like arms.
Just play for like 15 minutes and you're done.
Yep. All right. So second
Hopefully
to last
it's
segment here. This is the game that you will not pay more than $15 for, please. All right, AM Monster's going to tell you about some Japanese game that may or may not come to the West now, because we allow him to do that every episode. So go, you have 2 minutes this time.
All right, we got Hako Niwa Company Waksu, which is Hako Niwa Company Works. It is a Minecraft type clone game. Kind of like Japanese love doing this shit. They do it in. They did it for Dragon Quest. What was that? What was that called? Builders, I think it was.
I don't remember, but I know what you're talking about.
But this one looks pretty interesting because they go all JRPG, where you just completely destroy the world with ridiculous abilities. I think they showed it off pretty well in the trailer there. But yeah,
yes, they absolutely do.
Game. I'm sure if you're into these type of games, this will be fun for you. I'm not really the type of person into this game, so I can't really get super excited for this one. But I mean, if I was into these types of games, I would probably play this.
All right.
This is merging JRPG with Minecraft.
Is there a reason you wanted us to know about this amazing Minecraft clone?
I mean, it was good. It was good.
Okay, fair enough.
That's all I could say. This one is smaller. Oh no, it's Nippon software. Mine are not small.
All right, so let's tell you about the upcoming games. We'll close this thing out with some draft updates. We'll say our goodbyes. So we have a very short list of games here. This is what happened sort of leading up to and just after E3. So who wants to start talking about the June 27th games? Why don't you guys do like 2 or 3 apiece, and I'll switch to videos here.
All right, I'll go. So coming up, we have the Golf Club 2, which is most definitely the best simulation golf game you can play.
It looks like it.
I thought Everybody's Golf was the best simulation golf game you can play.
No, I'm just making a dig because a product I worked on in the past was in direct competition with the Golf Club, even though the Golf Club is clearly the superior game.
Okay, it actually looks a lot better than I thought it would based on the shitty title. The Golf Club, like how generic could you get? And are you talking about a club as in a building?
It's
a club as in a group of people? A club
Double
as in the
entendre.
golf club? I think it's a triple entendre. Yeah!
Triple entendre. Whoa!
Triple entendre.
Entendre fatality.
I have entendre fatigue now.
Can we get a full entendre combo?
But yeah,
chained entendre.
If you like golf, it's legitimately a solid game.
It looks like it, honestly. Doesn't look bad at all.
And next up, we have coming up Valkyria Revolution, another entry in the Valkyria series. But this one's I don't know how to describe it. The gameplay in this one's a little bit different, isn't it?
Yes, this one has been bombing critically. From all the early reviews coming out, it's an action RPG instead of and they kind of just said, fuck it, we're not even going to make this theme anything like the first game that people love.
That's the impression I got from looking at it. It's like an action RPG now instead of a strategy RPG.
It's another goddamn JRPG, generic male protagonist with giant sword and magic. Lots and lots of magic, which was not in the first game. I mean, it had a little bit of magic elements too in the first game, but it was pretty much like just alternate reality World War II if there was a little bit of magic in the world. And now it's just like full on, we're just going full on JRPG with this, and really slow, boring, just the combat looks awful. The reviews for this game have been pretty bad. I think the story and the soundtrack have been the only thing that people have said positive about this game, but it's sitting at like a 60 on Metacritic right now, and that's like a 3 out of 10.
That's pretty solid. So next Next up, we have Danganronpa, another episode, Ultimate Despair Girls, like the next entry in this, pretty popular like visual novel puzzle-ish game.
Wait, this is not the visual novel. This is a spin-off that was released on the Vita. And it's from the PS4. It does look significantly upgraded from the Vita version, which looked awful.
Wait, so how is the
gameplay awful to me?
Still, it's awful, but
how is the gameplay different from a visual novel?
It's a third-person shooter.
What?
Oh, the trailer does not emphasize that.
Is not conveyed at all.
You can see it about like a minute in.
I don't see it, but all right.
Yeah, you're shooting things. It's a very weird game. Danganronpa series is weird, but this one didn't do too well. I don't get it. Like, why don't you just stick with what works?
No,
if we're
not going to do that.
Valkyria Chronicles would have been fine if they just released it as it was before, and they just released a new version of it and maybe added some new gameplay aspects to it, but don't change the entire genre.
No, we're going to change the whole thing. People like the last one too much. We're going to do something
because
different.
Japan.
Yes.
Okay, there it is. At 106 in the video, there's approximately 1.5 seconds of gameplay.
There's gameplay for after that. I mean, it shows
trailers
gameplay.
are so amazing. There is some gameplay, but it looks terrible. It looks absolutely terrible. Anyway, Chocobo, why don't you wrap up the last one here, and then Core will take over for a couple.
All right. Next up, we got Final Fantasy 15 Episode Prompto, which, whether this turns out good or not, I think this is probably the most important of the DLCs coming for the game, because Prompto is the character who has he's just not explained well at all. So
he likes taking pictures, man. That's what he does.
He likes taking pictures and eat ice cream, and that's his character.
He sits in the back seat, man. That's what he does.
He's also like a demon or some shit. But
he's the best waifu.
Yes, he is the best waifu. So I'm actually looking forward to this because I'm hoping they flesh out his character a little bit more and explain just some of the what the fuck shit.
I'm the what the fuck shit, but to me is people still playing Final Fantasy 15. Didn't we all decide that game was kind of mediocre and we moved on?
No, we didn't say it was mediocre. I thought it was pretty good.
I thought it was good to. I thought it was good, not very good, but a little bit better than good.
Yeah, maybe not worth the long ass wait, but it was good. It wasn't Persona 5. It was good.
Okay, I stand corrected.
But the DLC, I don't think it's been doing too well. I don't think that's attracting new players to the game.
Not that we're even releasing DLC for that game.
Oh dear.
Well, they need to recoup their money somehow.
I suppose so.
And the billions of dollars budget on the game. I bet that budget was higher than GTA's budget.
It's Square Enix. They spend oodles of money on very little actual stuff that they get money back for. It's visuals and shit and whatever.
How are they still in business so long? They must make money somehow.
Who knows? Anyway, let's move along here. Take it away, Core. Tell us about this next couple games.
All right, we've got Dead by Daylight, which was originally an early release for Windows and is also being ported to the Xbox One and PS4. It is a asymmetric survival horror, meaning you are a team of 1 to 4 survivors pitted off against one hunter, and the hunter can be a monster of varying abilities and difficulties. The monster's goal is to kill you, and your goal as a team of survivors is to get the fuck out of there. This is Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, all
Evolve.
one. Yeah,
Evolve.
Those games.
Well, you don't really.
Evolve works so well.
But you don't really fight him. Your goal is to avoid him and trap him into situations that he can't get out of while you can facilitate your goals. So it's a really good game. Been highly reviewed. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it when it's in full release.
All right. I mean, we see a lot of these games hang out in early access. These asymmetrical multiplayers, these survival games, and I think what's the newest evolution we're starting to see now? I forget what it is. PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds type stuff.
Yeah, but that's
games
more
that are gonna be
player unknown. That's not anything like this at all.
no, it's not. I mean, just multiplayer and survival, being careful about things, kind of stuff. I mean, we even saw that a little bit with what do you call it? Hunt Showdown, right? It's the same kind of. They're riffing on an idea, about survival and skill and risk reward kind of stuff.
This is more of like horror movie simulator. Like I said, it's a team of 1 to 4 players who are trying to survive against a monster that is much superior to them.
Supernatural monster versus you are made of paper.
Correct.
Multiplayer Amnesia.
Yeah, pretty close.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, and after that we have Elite Dangerous, the Legendary Edition for the Xbox One and PS4. This is Elite Dangerous, made by Frontier Entertainment. They make a phenomenal space simulator. It is a hardcore space simulator. You will have to manage your ship and your economy and all sorts of things. Not for the faint of heart. If you actually enjoy hardcore economic space simulators, this one's for you.
No PSVR.
It's so good in VR though.
Yeah, they could have done it. They should have done it.
Oh, they didn't do it.
Have you played it in VR yet?
No. I don't have a PC VR.
Well, you're gonna have it on PS4 here soon.
Yeah, but I can't play it in VR on the PS4.
Why?
I don't think it supports VR.
Yeah, it's a shame.
That does suck.
Missed opportunities here. Right.
Yeah, there's a comment in there. We better be doing everything humanly possible to help Frontier in this VR.
There you go. All right, AI, why don't you close out the last 2 games here and go through the draft updates quick.
All right, speaking of PSVR, we got another zombie game that was ported over from PC. Arizona Sunshine. It's a rail shooter. Well, actually, it's not just on rails. You could actually move around in this one. I think it has multiple. See, this is a good example. It has multiple styles of movement in it. You could do regular locomotion or teleportation. So that's a positive, I guess, for it. I did hear some reviews on this already. Early reviews are saying that it's not that great in PSVR. You're better off playing it on the Oculus or the Vive because they make a lot of compromises trying to get it to work in VR with the Move controllers and everything else. But it does support the aim controller. If you have an aim controller, highly recommend you use it for this game, and it's probably going to be a lot better game with it. The review I did see of it did not use the aim controller, so I think that's one of the reasons why it's probably lower reviewed than it should be. He did mention that it might actually play better with the aim controller, because the aim controller, it's only just, I think it's just Farpoint at this point, and now this game that supports it. But the people who use it at Farpoint have been saying it's fantastic. It comes bundled with Farpoint. That's the only way to get it, I think.
That's kind of a shame.
But yeah, it's 1-to-1, and it feels like you're shooting a gun. So even though it doesn't look anything like a gun, looks like some weird series of tubes.
All right, last,
yeah,
but certainly not least here.
Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. It's a remaster of the old school platformer, and yeah, I actually think this is probably the least exciting announcement on here.
Yeah, it seems that way.
I mean, people have been begging for this, and I just don't think the gameplay holds up at all.
And then they got it, and it's just kind of like,
And I'm sure it's not going to sell as well as people who you just shout for it, like you were talking about Ico fans.
Yeah.
Well, we need to buy it. We need Last Guardian now, and it's going to be the best game ever. And then it releases, and it's like, it's Last Guardian.
It feels old and tired, and it's games that don't age well is a thing. All right, so real quick, we'll go through the fantasy draft updates here. So there's only been 2 changes according to this list here. So Mass Effect Andromeda has dropped yet another point. Are you kidding me? 74 down to 73. That breaks my freaking heart, man. But you know what? It's fine. It's fine. It deserves it. And Star Trek Bridge Crew, we had it at 75 a couple weeks ago, is now up to a 76. So I broke even, is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm okay with that.
We did have a bunch of games get delayed, so let me try to figure it out because I didn't write it down.
Don't worry about it.
Metal Gear Survive got delayed to 2018, so that's a foul. We got a bunch of release dates for games on there. We'll probably go over them.
God of
later.
War is a pushback.
Yeah, God of War got pushed back. Something else got pushed back too. What was it? That was a draft pick.
I don't recall right now. I don't have the whole list in front of me. But this one's a heartbreaker too. So I swapped Next Machina a month before it came out for Middle-earth: Shadow of War, which is releasing later this year, and that game actually scored an 85. Next Machina. So if I'd kept it, that would have been tied for my second best score on the list here, because Resident Evil is also at an 85. So Horizon.
I think you made a good choice. I think Middle Earth might have the potential to score in the 90s.
It's got to score better than an 85 for that swap to be good, and it also costs 2 points.
It's got to score better than 87.
Better than 87. So what we've got here are the scores. So AI Mancha's got 4 releases with a score of 341 points for an average of 85.25. Gray sitting at 4 releases with a 321 score, as is Papa, 4 releases, and also 321. We're both at 80.25. Cipher is in second with 2 releases only, 165 score, 82.5, so that's very tenuous. And Chocobro, you have 2 releases, and you are 80.5 right now, but you still got lots of releases to go this year. So
what?
Draft is still pretty tight. We're still all within 4.75 spread here.
I'm
5-point spread. So
I'm pretty confident in my lead here.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine with Super Mario Odyssey. It'll be all good.
The only thing that could happen is somehow South Park gets pushed again, or Pyre doesn't really.
Yes. If South Park gets pushed again,
but I can still swap.
It's pretty solid that it will release. I think October 17, I believe, is releasing that. So yeah, so that's it. The draft looks still pretty solid, and we'll have to keep track of that as we go throughout the year here. So I did. That sort of wraps up the 93rd episode of the IGC podcast. And I wanted to announce that this is actually going to be our final episode of the podcast. It's a lot of work to prepare these video podcasts, and I guess we haven't really gotten the response that we're looking for within the community. We've been doing this, I look back, since October 2012.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, and we were doing it monthly till January 2016 when we started doing it bi-weekly. We've had a lot of podcasts over the year. We've had Sitchy and Papa J and the guys here in the room. Chocobro being the newest. I've been a host for all 94 episodes. I think AI's been to every episode. Maybe he missed one. Papa J made about 60, 70 episodes almost in a row. Man, we had Bargist was a guest podcaster one time. I mean,
yep. And Boobs made a few.
Yeah, I believe my wife was on 1 or 2 as well. So I mean, yeah, we've had quite the run, and IGC is going to be making some major transitions this Friday, actually, at our community meeting, which is at 9 Eastern on our TeamSpeak, and we're going to be focusing on games. I mean, that's going to be, our press conference, so to speak, on Friday. And we're sort of tightening things up, and we're doing really well as far as Final Fantasy goes, and we've got a really strong Rocket League presence. Tabletop's been running every week, even without me when I'm not there for various real-life reasons. Ballistic Impact is our Arma 3 crew. They're growing up quite a bit. They've got a server now of their own running, so things are really picking up there. And we just feel like, this takes a lot of time for us to do. We need to focus on games, and that's kind of what we're here for. I have loved doing every episode of this, even when I've been tired and hungry like I am now. I still love coming out and talking about games, and I think, maybe we'll come back in the future. Maybe we'll do some different video series type stuff, I mean, I wouldn't mind doing like some game reviews with you guys, or just doing the game nights where we just game every now and then, just do something random, like when we used to play Left 4 Dead or some multiplayer game, like when we played Artemis. Like, that stuff was a real blast, and I feel like that kind of content is something that would really scratch my itch, as opposed to talking about news, which I think a lot of people get. There's a lot of people that do news, and I don't know. We'll see what the future holds for us. But yeah, 93 episodes. I'm super proud of all that, and I really want to say thank you to all you guys for supporting the podcast all these years. It's been almost 5 years, and that's the second longest running program here at IGC, only next to Neutral Impact, which was the guild that started it all. So that's pretty impressive. Anything you guys want to say as we?
Yeah, man. I've been here for 4 years now, dude, and it's been a great run, dude. Enjoyed doing the podcast with you guys. I know the future changes and our media changes, and I look forward to whatever we produce in the future. I know it'll be quality, and I know it'll be with good friends.
Definitely. AI, anything you wanted to say? I think you're the most frequent podcaster here.
I do love talking about video games.
You certainly do.
But yeah, it was becoming a bit stressful, having to do the document all the time, and it takes a few hours every 2 weeks, and I'm finding that my job is taking more and more time up as I get older, and other priorities. Making money in real life, so yeah, it's just something that hopefully we can return to. Hopefully we could discuss the formatting and make it a bit tighter. Work on getting the popularity up a bit, but or provide new content, like you said. But yeah, I hope we do something in the future, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think we will. We just have to figure out what that's going to be, But we have lots of games, in the community to play, and we want to make sure we promote that in the best way possible. And I think sometimes it's a matter of like cutting the fat a little bit and seeing like, well, where can we tighten up a little bit? And yeah, like you said, it's really time consuming to get this show ready. And this was one of our longest. I mean, we've been live 2.5 hours now, so. Yeah, it's a lot of time, and more than that goes into planning the things. So it's good. Chocobro, anything you want to say?
Well, I just really appreciate you guys having me on. I know I'm not the best contributing member of the team, but I've greatly appreciated the opportunity to contribute and come on here and speak my mind with you guys. It's really been a blast.
Yes, I think I have learned more about very specific kinds of games from you than, well, maybe you and AI are about tied, when it comes to that, because you guys give me a perspective on like the Eastern side of games that like I probably am now going to miss out on unless I'm sitting in a channel with AI on Discord or TeamSpeak, and he's gonna blab to me about some great Japanese game with huge breasts. He'll send me a random trailer that will then show up, and I'll watch it, and then YouTube will suggest a bunch of pervy videos now, which is what happens when I click on his videos. I should be more cautious, but I'm not.
Look, there's a channel called Weeb Impact. You go in there, you'll probably find some of that stuff.
We do have a strong anime presence on our Discord with Weeb Impact. So it's been a pleasure, as always, gentlemen, and to everyone who has been a listener. We've had a couple of consistent listeners, and I thank you guys as well. I'll have more to say on Friday at the community meeting to those people. So we will unfortunately not see you in 2 weeks. It would have been July 9th. We're going to skip out on that, and we'll see what the future holds. But in the meantime, we still game here. If you want to play some games with us here at Impact Gaming Community, you're more than welcome. Check out our website at impact-gaming.us. You can always send me questions to Gray at impact-gaming.us. You can follow us on Twitter at impact_gamingcm, on YouTube at Impact Gaming Videos, and this last episode will show up on iTunes and YouTube and all the usual places. So thank you guys for all the years of doing this podcast. It's been such a great time, and hopefully we'll be back in the future with some more really interesting content. All right, so until next time, game on.